Somebody has
June.
we're gonna do.
Oh, we did.
Our cousins live, we went out, but it's not that bad. It was
Okay, we're all,
It is, huh?
we're on.
Okay, we're on. All right, so everybody's got version C. That's the tentative. Once we went from requested, we moved stuff that we agreed to tentative. As you can see, now that we've refined some of the numbers, and again, these numbers are still pretty good estimates. There's probably some refining that's going to exist with some of the payroll. I think it's probably plus or minus $10,000, so it's not going to be a significant difference. So the net of it is if you look at the first page, version C, it shows that we are right now required almost 3.448 million, 49 million in taxation. To the right of that says should be 3,050,000. So right now we're $400,000 over the cap for our budget. Last year our tax rate per thousand was 9.98. Right now, based on the tentative requested budget, we're at $11.30. We're about $1.25 north of where we have to be. There are some items in here that certainly are discretionary when it comes to the board. When I look at those items, we're probably looking at about $225,000.
What are those items? Is that the street sweeper?
Street sweeper is one of them. The police car for the police department.
But we were talking about putting money into the reserve.
That's not including reserve. That's just the request for the police car that's in the budget.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's in the budget. Reserve funds for the fire department. I highlighted the ones that are obvious, that are discretionary. So if you look in the tentative budget lines, the ones that are discretionary are highlighted.
How much do we need to bring it down?
$400,000.
I thought it was two. Doubled?
Two was only because there's no fund balance. But that's basically if you came in with a flat budget. Which came in with a budget that's essentially 200,000 higher than a flat budget. Understand?
Not really.
Okay, so
No, when,
if you look at last year,
right,
you put $200,000 worth of fund balance into the budget to help
Right.
defray the cost of taxation. Okay, you don't have that luxury this year.
So we spent 200 to keep under the cap.
So you actually have to come in with a number that's 200 below last year's number in taxation to keep everything in line with the fact that the tax cap gave you guys effectively zero increase on your budget. So when you look at your effective taxation requirement right now, it's the 3.449 million. Now, this doesn't impact your special districts. Okay, your special districts actually are quite good, and you guys have to give me some guidance and a better decision, and that is that we have some extra funds. Do we want to use them to pay the debt down faster? Or do we want to put them in contingency, or do we want to do both?
Well, we have reserve funds for vehicles in both departments, right?
In the sewer,
Yeah.
stormwater, yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we pay the debt down then? Unless is there any projects that we have left?
Well, with the water department, you might want to consider growing the fund balance. Now, I'm still waiting for the auditors to give me the final numbers for the fund balances. So until I get that, I'm kind of giving an educated estimate.
Okay.
But the fund balance for sewer and water on the audit should come in pretty healthy. Now, the Office of State Comptroller doesn't necessarily tell you what your fund balance needs to be. They just ask it not to be excessive and not to be too little. So I asked this question, well, what does that mean? Their answer is, we don't have any specific number we can give you. And I said, well, what's the rule of thumb? Well, technically, there is no rule of thumb, but what we can tell you, what we've seen with other municipalities, a healthy fund balance is about 10% of their
Total budget,
Total
so
budget.
you're talking about $350,000 fund balance. Roughly.
Yeah, depending on,
Yeah.
budgets for water and sewer are a little bit different. But, so those decisions for those two departments really aren't tough decisions, because you just have to make a determination, do you want to accelerate your debt service payments, or do you want to increase your fund balance? Now, the cost of borrowing money is still quite low, so improving your fund balance might be a better option. Or doing a hybrid, accelerate a little bit and improve your fund balance a little bit. What that gives you is a protection that if we have a water main break or a sewer pipe break,
Still have some
you have
money.
$100 grand sitting in the contingency fund, you don't have to borrow money to fix it.
I like that.
But those are strict silos, they can't help out the general fund.
They cannot,
No.
they cannot.
Like the old contingency.
Now, we did, you know, the board is becoming more aggressive in making sure you charge out work done by the A fund on behalf of the sewer and water, like if you're having to use DPW employees to dig holes to fix a water main break or sewer break, those are all chargeable at the standard rate of pay. You know, that's gonna require those department heads to account for that and then turn it in as a transfer. But when you're looking at your A fund, the sweeper is a pretty big thing that you can knock right off the top. The question is, you know, I looked at the lease for the sweeper, and that really is kind of nonsense, quite
It's about
frankly.
50 grand,
Yeah.
is what it was?
Yeah, that's not a tenable situation. You might as well hire a company to do the sweeping for you for the, you know, $10,000 a year.
Made a payments on it.
That's right. That's right. So, I think that my recommendation is, as a street sweeper is a bridge too far, and you might want to consider contracting that.
Well, then that also supports the idea of putting more into fund balance for sewer and water, because we do use that suction hose.
Tan,
Yeah,
or cook.
Could we offset the cost
Should you use
into
your-
water?
that's right.
Or
So
and sewer?
We would need
Can we do
additional
what?
funds to.
Can we offset the
have
cost
tangible.
of the street sweeper into water and sewer because of the fact it's used for water main breaks and sewer repairs and then jet back the lines, and maybe saddle them with the cost of the sweeper?
I guess if an argument can be made that it's exclusively used for those purposes, sure.
Well, if we did it for the water and sewer, we do the exact same thing that we're doing now as far as charging out. If they DPW needed it, then we would just charge out the DPW 8 fund. It'll belong to the sewer for doing repairs
I
of
don't
water.
think it's gotta be over 50%. So ideally, I think it might be hard to convince the auditors that the sewer department is a street sweeper holder and everybody else pays into that. Because the sewer department might use the street sweeper for 20% of the time or something like that. It has to be whoever the preponderance of use is, and that would be the street department. Now, I will say this, you know, the village and the town shared that sweeping machine. The town borrowed that sweeper during periods of time to do work. Maybe there's some type of effort that could be put forward into a joint ownership of a piece of equipment like that. But the trend is to get and outsource that type of stuff. Because it's essentially a niche type thing, and the costs of it are becoming prohibitive for a municipality.
And Cam is, what do we use him 5-6 times a year to jet back to us?
$25,000.
Is that what we pay him?
But that's also when they're digging the ditch, they use
The jet back.
the jet back also.
Yeah. But I
I
mean,
mean, I'm no part of it, if you don't mind, I make a comment.
Not at all.
I don't know how far you're gonna step back, because we just can't continue to work for nothing. Prices go up every year, costs go up every year, everyone in here pays an additional 5% at least at your home every year. And how can you tell me I gotta reduce it by X? sometime there has to be a vote to override the 2% cap.
Well,
It's
Not
no
even
longer
2%.
2%.
It's a 0.78, whatever it is.
yeah.
But still, you're at a situation where you can't have the facility fall apart because I gotta worry about that 2% or 0.78%.
Well, I think that ultimately they're just trying to keep everybody's feet to the fire when they're doing their budgets, so they.
Understood, but,
Be
you know,
reasonable.
They're
let
also
them get their
trying to
feet
push
burned too.
consolidation.
Yeah,
That's really.
Of course it is.
The dog whistle here is
yeah.
consolidate or die.
You're still not gonna save anything there. You really get into it.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, you're.
But we can
it's
argue
not
that
gonna be-
another
it's
time.
not
That's an
gonna be
argument
major.
for tonight.
It's not gonna be major.
But that's okay. Yeah, I just think that, yeah, you're absolutely right on with the cap. What they're trying to do is to squeeze you into
Look,
consolidation.
40% of the village budget is policing services, 40%.
What happens if you took the 250,000 out of 911, put it, get into 911? I mean, I know there's not a lot of favoritism for that, but at the same time, there's $200,000 there that would drop out just
Well,
about.
the
immediately.
board is considering a third shift.
I understand that, but the whole thing would save $200,000.
That's true statement. 250,
Well,
almost
So
$300,000.
you're gonna keep one person, I would assume, but you're still at, we talked about this years ago, but you're talking about that 200,000 minimum goes away.
Well, one of the, I got an earful the other day from a couple of seniors on the fact that they call them in the morning and check on them, and that's not the shift we're talking about the third shift, so.
I understand that, but that whole thing used to be done
I know.
by the seniors themselves.
But, yeah, but the logistics of the whole thing, if you do away with the third shift, and then at that point, you see how, if in fact it works, and then you can either go further or go backwards, you know, at that point, so.
You're into a situation where push comes to shove.
Well, look, you guys, as part of the efficiency program, put in that third shift transition to 911 would be your contribution to be under the regulations. So certainly, if you budget, but you in earnest make the determination to go to third shift, that will probably put 50 grand back into the village coffers. Because you'll essentially, you'll still have 3 full-time people, but your part-time costs will go away dramatically. And some of your other ancillary costs that go along with that. Your overtime costs will go down.
Yeah, that's the big one. Because we've been clobbered on
Sure.
overtime.
Absolutely.
Let's get to the truck.
Okay.
Fire.
All right, so that's what we need to discuss after we discuss the truck room. If you look at the truck room contract, 3 years ago when it was signed, it equates to about a 3.3% increase annually during the duration of the contract. It's right now sitting at 24,596.78. In addition, there's some provisions in here, I believe, for paint.
Brings it up to 25.5.
Yeah, so there's,
That's in your budget.
yeah. So, so again, right now what you're looking at is you're paying $27.50 a square foot for the space.
What is it?
$27.50.
Well, let's back off here, my friend. We have approximately 20 by 40 for the year room.
It's about 900 square feet.
The
I'd
gear
say-
room, not the truck room. Different room.
I don't know what the number is, if we had to go back and we can provide that information, but total space used by the village in the building is the truck room, is the area that all the gear is, office, storage, all that, where the generator is, all that type of stuff. I'm sure it's more than 900 square feet, but we can go back and figure it out.
Well, unfortunately, it's just not specified in
I know.
here. and
No, it
that's-
never
No,
has been.
yeah.
In fact, when we asked we were told it was just the truck room.
Who'd
How
you
long
ask?
ago?
Um,
Who'd you ask?
I asked the chief.
Wrong person to ask.
Wrong person.
The chief would be the wrong, see, I would've got that wrong.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, just remember, there's two separate entities that you're dealing with. You're dealing with your entity, which is the fire department, and tonight you're dealing with the company, which is a private organization.
As a private organization, do you pay tax?
We are a 501c3, so we are exempt.
Are you allowed to lease?
Yes,
You are?
yes.
Above market value or market rate?
Well, we can show you other firehouses that get significantly
That's not
more.
what she asked.
Well, that would drive the market, wouldn't it?
Well, I would,
Show me another firehouse in the village of Highland Falls.
well,
It's not
Orange County.
That's
the school,
Orange County.
for instance,
Yeah.
the school has already set the precedent that a municipal use like Bog Meadow, because we make money on it, they will tax it. So it's a gray area if you're just leasing for firematic service at market rate. I think that is perfectly acceptable. If you start leasing at excessively or much higher and, making a profit,
I can
then
pretty
you
much show that we're
become
not making a profit, so.
over market rate. I'm
Well,
just
that's-
talking market
That's what you're
rate.
saying, over market rate. So I guess you determine what the market rate is, and then the rest would be your profit according to the tax.
But hopefully, you're being kind to us, and you're not bumping it up
Less than what it is now, so
less than what it is?
less rate increase than what it is now.
Basically, just so let's throw it out on the table and
Yeah.
stop all the first year, 2%, second year, 2%, third year, 3%.
That's what you're asking for the new
What
contract.
that does is increases the next year, 16, 17 by $601, or less than $2 a day. Second year is $520, still less than $2 a
So
day.
2, 2, and 3.
That's it.
Do you have the total dollars?
You know what? I didn't do it. I did somewhere. Looks like $77,037 for 3 years.
Do you have the yearly breakdown? Again, I'm sorry.
Yearly, yeah. First year, 26,001 up. Second year, and this could be corrected, but it's 26,530.20. The third year, 27,326.10. It gives it a $1,917 increase over 3 years. I'll tell you, last night we paid insurance at $4,400 approximately. We paid a heating repair bill of $1,000, and it doesn't stop there. Our plans are in the future, we have replaced the roof, repair some exterior stucco, heating system, floor tile, telephone system, security system, and handicap restroom with showers, kitchen improvements like that.
Not always have to do with the truck room, correct?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the truck. Basically, what happens is that the fire, the dollars raised from leasing the facility to the village doesn't pair into what we go out on the outside and get.
Years ago,
Our
was,
donations and the act of, the 40-some odd people that give up their time
I understand.
for the village.
in the past, was it ever an arrangement along the same lines as the town and the library where it was support versus a lease?
No.
No.
I will tell you that this building was built in the 50s,
1952 we offered.
was They paid for it, they got no money from the municipality, they paid for it by bingo, I mean, everybody knows this, for the most part. I'm gonna say it was about when Inga got out of office, is when we started getting like $500 was token.
I've been in charge for years.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't much up until recently when we said, you know, we need to get up to where
No,
we need to be because we have bills. And that's kind of where it is. I mean, we've replaced the truck room floor, we've done other improvements.
it was $156,000 spent in building modifications and repairs, 1973, 74, or not 70,
14?
13, 14, 14, 15.
So, I mean, like I said,
You're looking at, we modernized the facility to, it has a different look. That was part of the deal.
And also just keep in mind that the facility is used, yes, this lease generally, and this doesn't address it, but you need to keep it in mind, is that while the lease deals with firematic spaces, truck room, offices, storage, so on and so forth, we also use the firehouse multiple times a year for, you know, when there's catastrophes and things like that. People come and they stay there. Nobody gets billed for that. So, I mean, the purpose of having that large hall, I'd love to cut it up, do something else with it, but we use it for other community events. And I'm not talking about money-making events. You know, things where people have problems and they come and they stay there. So we need to keep the facility at a certain level. You know, that's also part of it.
No one can argue the need. No one can argue the fact that we all need to be working together. Problem is money. And just like we just discussed before, I actually didn't think we were going to need to cut what we're talking about, just to make it, just to see if we can even make it under the cap. But that's where we're reaching out to all the departments, including the fire department, including the truck room. We're going to be asking for a significant drop in the increase for at least a year, if not two. Brian can't be here tonight, he was going to make that request. I'm going to make it for him. Again, I can't promise in 2 years, because I don't know if I'll be here, in 4 years and 6 years, but this year, we see where we're at. We understand you have costs, and everyone's got costs, and we have to do what we have to do.
The other thing the board can consider is, you know, you have other fire department items, and you might have to adjust some of those numbers and work on these.
Well, I would prefer not to deal with the fire department budget. I think they did a really good job of bringing it down to what they could. It looks like we may have to, I don't even want to say touch the reserves that we were just talking about. But the actual budget itself, I think they did a phenomenal job. You don't want to touch it. My question is, you're coming with a 223. When I come and I'm looking to buy something, I never started the price I'm willing to settle for. So,
Well, the one we wanted is more than what this is, but we had a
Let's
discussion.
just look a little bit here and do a little comparison with some other departments. Cornwall, for firehouse maintenance, $50,000 in there. Actually, in their current budget is $55,000.
Did they give their
Cornwall,
annual
that's
budget there?
They got a custodian, that's $3,000. This Cornwall and Hudson.
Did they give their annual budget there?
Yeah, I told you, I don't have the page, I don't believe.
Yeah.
The fire company inspection dinner, here's something that was never done in the Allen Falls Fire Department.
And we're not asking for it. So
We're not
let's just be
asking
very
for
clear on that.
$3,000. Others, there's uniforms. I mean, Woodbury, it's got
I mean, there's a lot of things that were, under the law, you're eligible to ask for historically, we've never done. We do it ourselves.
Right.
And we're not asking for it now.
Everybody's situation's a little different.
Yes.
Right. That's a fact.
Yes.
And again,
Yeah.
what we're not looking to
You
do,
can't
Yeah.
pick, cherry pick things that they got.
Jerry,
Yeah.
if we had an extra $10, we give you 20. What I'm trying to figure out is how do we come to something where, and
How to get the square peg in a round hole.
that's
Well,
all.
I got it.
And I'm not looking for a battle,
Yeah.
and I'm looking for, we need to come to an agreement on what you guys can not get killed by your department by when you bring back to them.
Well, that's the other end.
Yeah,
But,
actually, this is more conservative than I was.
And that's
fearful
the point I'm trying to make, is that is the numbers, like every budget always is higher, and this is what we came down with.
And we're talking $2 a day.
That's wonderful, yeah. Yeah, I know, Joe. Can you meet us halfway with these numbers? Something like that, can we make a compromise perhaps? Somewhere in the middle perhaps, where do we get past this tax cap thing?
At least in year one. So we get through the process.
What, push year one?
One, maybe we'll look at year 3 and reduce that.
I almost want to go with a 2-year, and then say, let's say come back in year 3, because we might be, I would rather not cut you in 3. I almost want to say, you're 3%, if we're better off, go for 4. You know, and because you helped us out in 1 and 2. I would almost prefer to go 1, 2. If things push forward with any kind of consolidation and the village has room to assist the fire department during the 3 or 4 years of this happening, we're there. I mean, we will assist the.
I don't see getting out of the hole.
So you see never,
I don't see getting out of the hole by trying to do what the governor of the state of New York and the Senate, the legislature, assembly put together here. It doesn't seem, you'll never get out of the hole.
Well, we gotta make an effort to do that.
You'll never get out of the hole and improve the facilities in the community.
We're gonna make our best effort at it, Joe. I mean,
I
I'm just not
Well,
gonna give
yeah,
up on it.
The other problem is that if you go above the cap, the homeowners do not get the rebate.
I
And that's a
understand that. It was
whole different ballgame.
very interested to see that check come in the mail, and you're talking budget, isn't it?
Yeah. I will say this,
The system we have. What
just
can I
in the
tell you?
just in the big scheme of things, perception-wise, this isn't a lot of money in the big scheme of things.
The percentage raises.
But the percentage is what is problematic to the public.
Any raise for the people. For
Yes.
employees don't get half that.
Yes, so it's not really the $500, that's really not a big, you know, if you really think about it, it's not a lot of money. The percentage is the problem, and maybe structuring this differently so that it's a fee, a flat number, and somehow the percentages don't play as big of a role. I
Make it
think
more
that you
palatable.
can sell it better. You know, I don't think the board needs to go to the mat over these numbers. It's really, in the big scheme of things, not a lot. But you do have to fight the issue of if you're giving 1% to the employees as far as a raise, and you're not getting even 1% in your taxation ability, it's really hard to sell 2% of anything.
1% of what?
What's that?
1% of what, if the other number is different?
Well, I'd almost say structure this where it's 1% and then a $250 item for some type of repair or something. So that you're essentially separating the percentage from the gross number aggregate. You know, $250 toward, you know, paint supplies or something else that you need to do this year or next year that would effectively make the contract a 1%, and then you get the additional funding to handle the service. And then it's not compounding at that point, and then there's some other benefits.
I track what you're saying. All right, let's,
You need to talk with the people on that.
We have to get back with the board.
Okay,
We can do
yeah.
it quickly though,
Yeah.
that's.
Do what you gotta do. See if you can be we appreciate you being flexible if you can.
I think the board maybe what you might want to consider is 3 years, 1% with a $250 kick-up for maintenance materials or something like that. That
We're
would-
starting at the 25.5.
At your 25,
Five in your budget.
The current.
what's the current numbers? Where's
25.5 in your budget.
Oh, no, I'm going off of the contract number. The budget, where's the 25.5 coming from?
I'm not sure.
I think it
It's in your
includes-
budget, it's not on any,
Yeah, but that number is
That was-
also factoring in the painting piece. That wasn't just the truck room, I believe.
Paint and.
And that's almost what Ed's saying, like paint is not part of the truck room rent. It's
Just-
part of the agreement.
It's part of maintenance.
Right,
That
so-
was we agreed on.
And again, we're coming up with almost the same number. It's that, it's, again, as he's saying,
So it's the same process.
Again, it's not a lot of money, but it's gotta be sold right.
Okay.
So is it palatable to do a 3-year 1% with a maintenance stipend type of deal?
we have to go back and evaluate that with the members, the board members.
Okay, well, we have about a week to finalize the numbers. We have another meeting
why don't I
Monday.
just go to,
We can do it in that.
Yeah.
evaluate. It's
By the
up to you.
weekend- By the weekend, we can have this
Right.
one. Sure, we can get all of everybody quickly.
How many guys you gonna reach out to?
7.
7?
And also mention the LoSAP letter.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care of that one. I'll take care of that myself. Yeah, that works, right?
Yeah.
Do it yourself or?
Or ask a busy person.
And Jerry, we had mentioned this to Eric also. People don't understand. They think they saw your truck out twice this month, and you guys spent 2 hours doing something. What we also need to do to make this more palatable is like either during Eric's reports, or maybe even you come in twice a year as that end of it, and say, okay, the trucks went out. When the trucks didn't go out, we're doing this, just so that, again, the public understands
We can work
that.
on it.
Yeah,
Well, actually, Eric in his report has started doing that.
right.
So,
I just want to make sure that on the other end, he's doing
On the
all
admin
of it.
side, yeah.
Right, because people understand that hundreds of hours they're put in.
It's so much, what's tough too is that your budget's half the town's. Okay, and yet the problem is they're structured where they have a vote.
District, yeah.
And how many people show up at the vote? 30, 40?
all
So,
armed.
you guys have a system that's so much harder because you're lumped into the A fund. If you were broken out,
Mhm.
then the public pretty much weighs in and it's a lot easier to do.
Right.
And that's unfortunate.
No. I've had to do it when I was chief, so trust me, I understand. But we'll work it out.
Yeah, okay, thank you
figure it.
very much.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
okay.
Talk to you later.
See you later.
Okay. Are you guys good with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Want to take care of Jimmy?
What,
I'm just to observe, I don't know if you guys have time tonight.
Okay.
All right, so let's go through version C. Let's start talking about some items. I started to incorporate the 1% for the raises. That the 400,000 north issue really effectively, once the sweeper drops off, is $250,000. Now, there is fund balance to make this all work. But then your fund balance gets low to a point where you don't give your guys a lot, and you could show up on the list in the state that is, I'm trying to remember how they term
We weren't
terminology.
on the list at all.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You mean the list that says that you're in trouble?
No, the list of all of the municipalities based on audits and Highland Falls was not there, the town was,
Which list are you talking about though? I don't-
from the controller's office.
You talking about the fiscal stress list?
Well, it's comprehensive, it's supposed to cover everything, but it does include distress lists.
Yeah, we're not under fiscal stress. We did get, we're not on the watch list, let's
Well,
say.
we would've got a bond rating that we did if we had that.
Correct.
Well, the town isn't either, no, this is.
No, the town doesn't have any debt.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing for the town, is they have very little, if any, debt. When I was there was almost no debt. You know, I think the only debt they might have has to do with the water district. But no A fund debt, let's say. I'd have to see the list you're referring to. But as far as fiscal stress, you know, we're not considered under watch or anything like that. But we do have a high debt situation. When you add the amount of the duration and the net present value, they call it, of the debt, it's about $10 million. All right, now, this board is doing a nice job because you haven't really been borrowing any money all these years. For 3 years now, the only money that you used was water tank painting, and that was already stuff that was approved before. And the water department will be able to start to really cut away. You know, you're looking at between water and sewer, $970,000. The rest of the municipal debt is serial bonds, 2009, 2012, and the one that we just refied for 2016. You do have an EFC loan in the sewer department, but for the most part, it's those $3 million serial bonds that are, you know, what you're having to pay for.
What are we looking at for fund balance in those two?
In sewer and water, I'm waiting for the audit. Effectively, I want to say they were around $300,000 to $400,000, but that's a very rough number because until I see their numbers,
In each or combined?
in each. And it might be 2, 4, I think it's aggregate somewhere around $600,000-$700,000. But again, I'm reluctant to give that number because I really have to verify that first.
Yeah.
I know that it's improving. Okay.
Right,
As
we're
far
going
as
in the right
numbers.
direction.
I can give you last year's.
I was just going back to the notion of doing a hybrid versus maintaining a large fund balance in the event that we have a break, and end up with like $172,000 repair.
Well, the nice part about a large fund balance is if you have contractual issues that come in higher than expected also,
Yeah.
it's a big help to have, or somebody retires and you owe them 60 grand or something, these types of things are,
Yeah, given the cheap cost of money right now, I'd
Last
almost
year,
like to keep the
last
fund
year's
balance.
last year's water fund balance was $307,000 and sewer was $269,000. Okay, so about 300 each. That's going to change for this year because both of those departments had improved performance for last year. So 2015, I expect those numbers to go north while the general fund number went south. Okay? And it's just a product of the fact that you guys can't really tax anything without the ramifications of no rebate and upset residents. But yet, they want the dispatch, they want all the other services, senior center, all these other things, and those are all good things to want, but once you start to look at the cost structure, something gives. You do have an infrastructure of equipment that is aging, and you guys are kind of the first ones to start trying to put money away to prevent having to use budgets to largely fund equipment. Once those fund balances or those reserve funds are nice and contributed to, budgeting is much easier because those big ticket items don't end up anywhere on the operating costs. You can pull them right out. So, you know, those are the issues of, yeah, if after, and I don't expect any answers today, what I'd like the board to do is flip through this and evaluate what you believe is subject to a discussion and subject to maybe adjusting down.
Give us your recommendations again.
Yes, well, we'll flip through.
You mentioned you highlighted stuff. I didn't-
I bolded it,
Okay.
okay? So we'll go to page 3, which is revenues. Again, there is some fungibility here. I got some verification to do, but I did some estimates. Some of the things I brought down because the numbers didn't support it, like gross receipts came down a little bit. Sales tax, that number could fluctuate a little bit. I have to just verify the estimate for this year. The interest and penalties, 10,000 is about where we really should be. Interest on our earnings is very low now, so I put 1,000 because our adopted budget last year was, or this year is 2694, and really getting interest and earnings now because the low percentage rates are very small. So I've had to really modify some of that adjustment. Business and occupational licenses, I gotta just check something, because that number.
Wow.
It's a little higher.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
I worked off of an actual that for this year, so
Is
that's
there an
why.
extra zero?
No, I'm pretty sure it's good.
Really?
Let me just check.
I make a vote that we don't have any licenses anymore, if that's,
I agree.
the number's correct.
Yeah, just hold on a second. That could be a typo, but
What does that cover, Ed?
Yeah, that's a typo. I'm just putting it out there. I voted as a typo.
yeah.
Because you have 5,000 and now you have 50.
Yeah, well, in the requested budget line, that's the problem. But that's not good if that's a typo. That makes sense.
I prefer the requested budget.
Yeah. Hold on, let me just check something.
Well, actually, we want it to be 50.
Absolutely.
You want it,
This
revenue.
page, you
Yeah, that's
want
not
it.
good. Yeah, I'm believing that that's a typo, I agree, so I'll fix that.
What about the franchises? Are those up for renegotiation?
Yeah, how do we do that? I mean,
Not Time Warner, not for another 4 years.
okay, I was gonna say, they have a contract for 4 years, okay.
10-year
Well,
contract.
that contract was, I think, stemmed from the whole 4th of July piece, all that's tied in. Just trying, there's something else that increased, it was much more than I expected, and it's, if you can see, fines forfeited bail was up about 10,000 because our actual revenues right now, with 3 months left, is $33,000. So that's a good increase.
33 or 36?
No, this number is
Or the year before.
2014, 15. 15, 16 is what I'm going off of the revenue expense report.
Sorry.
All right, so 40,000 is probably okay there, and then state revenue sharing and mortgage taxation, I had to lower a little bit because we're just not getting that amount of money.
You got a bunch of zeros here towards the bottom. Not liking that.
Which zeros?
Insurance recovery?
I can't estimate that. Do you know when we're gonna have a problem that we need insurance?
Yeah, I'm gonna put 65.
We were made whole by the county on taking
Street?
down the, Center Street.
That will get added into the fund balance.
For this current year.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be adjustment.
When you did your defensive on that matter, was that added to that? I mean, do we still have that 400,000 number with that in the mix?
I'm not really factoring that in because I'm not factoring fund balance at all.
Okay.
Whatever the fund balance, whatever benefit for the fund balance this year
Right.
is the benefit. The goal is to, again, consciously, we could use some fund balance, but, effectively, your fund balance will continue to decrease, and then you run into other problems. So what I would recommend we do is we try to hone down this budget to where we feel we can't touch anything else, and then see what the number is, and then make a determination, should we dip into fund balance a little bit. If you look at, I've already factored in some fund balance, okay?
65.
And that 65,000 that I factored in is for the anticipation that $10,000 of the transferred celebration money will be in fund balance when the year ends, remember? So I'm giving that 10,000 out of fund balance right into this year because that's effectively gonna transfer that money. Because right now it is in celebrations. When the year ends, it goes to fund balance. But we want it for next year to be available. So that's where that 10,000, and then the other 55,000 is a residual of snow removal, 01 and 04. And that's with the understanding that you're gonna authorize the purchase of the truck. So that's all you have. So the fund balance that you have right there is already earmarked from proceeds from this year's lower than expected cost surge. Okay, so if we go through and we find some other things that we need to address, then we might end up finding that we do have to get maybe $100,000 in fund balance to make everything work. Okay, all right. So after the revenue side, we'll go to expenditures. When I run down expenditures, the only, page 1 is essentially largely positional and contractual, largely flat in all these cases. If we go, we're under clerk. Clerk's essentially flat. The delta's about $750. Attorney, I'll discuss briefly. I got a response from the village attorney. We probably should discuss an executive session because I need to get some guidance as to how you want to proceed contractually with the attorney. But right now I programmed 54,000, and that would include the village attorney, the mayor's attorney, and the labor attorney. There was discussion yesterday in structuring that differently so that it's on a more hourly basis versus a guaranteed basis.
We'll discuss that exactly.
And we'll discuss that exactly. You have your court legal services. That is working out quite well. Engineer is at 30. I lowered that about 5,000 based on the fact that engineering services so far this year expensed out at, we're at 24,000 right now with 3 months left. So we only spent $10,000, $11,000.
Oh, really? Okay, so all Al's figures were on billed to the specific projects.
Yeah, I think there was a couple bills still left, but even with those bills, maybe we're at 15,000, so we have a residual of $20,000 there.
Right.
So I moved that down to 30. We could make it 25. That'll give you another 5, but that's one that you might want to star and consider if you want to change anything with that. Elections, that is what it is. Village Hall Repair Reserve, that is what it is. Your central garage salaries, pretty much again. I'm gonna modify all the salaries. I had Margaret give me an updated sheet because there's a couple discrepancies that I had to work out with the spreadsheet. So I'll update them before Monday's meeting. Technical support, it went down a little bit. Unallocated insurance, I'm estimating, I don't have anything directly from the insurance agent yet.
Tech support, is that IT?
Yes. Yeah, IT.
How come there were zeros prior and now there's,
Because it was a new line we put in. Before that, tech support was handled by the clerk and treasurer contractual. But we wanted to break it out so we could
Right.
actually see what we were paying for the stuff.
And that
both
also
the,
interfund transfer.
yeah, well, yeah, the interfund is farther down, but that will, the tech support is split. Judgment and claims, I lowered about 5,000 because this year's judgment and claims really weren't that bad. There weren't as many certs as we were dealing with earlier. Right now, so far, we spent $10,000 on judgment and claims. MK tax standard contingency, I lowered to $75,000 from 100. So far, right now, the contingent account has had $22,000 spent out of it.
We anticipate any additional revenue coming out of that before the end of the year?
No, well, yes, no, that's not true. The overtime for your A fund.
Okay.
And that's gonna take about $25,000,
That's
$30,000 out of there. Provided that everything gets tamped down for the rest of the year as far as that OT. And again, that goes also to your dispatching OT, which is quite high also. Communications, we talked just about dispatching, that went up about 7,000. Again, that number will get refined based on the contract. Salary overtime, again, for that line right now, overtime was budgeted at $10,450. So far, $22,000 have been spent on OT. So there's 11,571, and the police department itself is 18,542, so you got $30,000 in additional costs from budget. Now, again, I increased the overtime for both police and Central Communications based on what the chief put in. That is subject to the village, the board's determination as to whether or not his estimates are more interesting to the board than the 5% goal that we had set. I think, again, I go back to the issue of if you're going to be paying $45,000 in overtime, that's worth maybe a couple part-timers. Is that the better option, to have part-timers versus the overtime?
What we just don't have them, that's the problem. At least according to Ken,
They aren't flexible with their hours. Fit in where we need them.
So you have about $25,000 in overtime plus-ups for Central Communications and Police Department that are subject to review by the board as to whether or not you're comfortable with that. I didn't go with the $65,000 Police Department figure. I didn't put that in because I didn't believe that the board wanted to go right with that number. I personally think that the target needs to be maybe a massage number based on your 5% goal and maybe a couple realities that the chief put down of things that he really can't not cover.
right, that's where 45 comes from.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
That to me is, I was actually looking towards that number, somewhere in between, which I think, only because the numbers he's been coming down with, again, I'd rather shoot for the goal. We're paying the overtime, we're not paying people. But if we up it to 65, when they're doing 65, then he's gonna shoot for 65. We don't want any overtime. But overtime's reality, we have to deal with it.
But plus also, it doesn't hit your radar because it's not overspent.
Right. I'd like to keep it at 45 because I think that if we manage the part-timers better, I definitely think we can lower it from where we're at.
Okay, how about Central Communications?
Overtime?
Yeah. Right now, this year, it's Central Communications overtime is $22,000.
And we've got 3 more months.
Last year, it was 17.
Last year, it was, yes.
And is that the actual or did they go over
That's
that?
the actual.
What's changed over there? Did it go up $5,000?
What's changed?
It's gonna be more like $8 grand when we finish.
What's changed is that your full-time dispatchers are working more overtime and you don't have as many part-timers covering.
So again, it's with a lack of part-timers,
Scheduling.
yeah.
A big part of it's scheduling, and a big part of it is not foreseeing the need. That's the problem. We need to be more aggressive getting part-timers and having them do what's needed. When they come in, you work.
You know, I really, Joe McCormick kind of said it, and that is the pilot project for 911. If there's not a time to consider it, when is?
No, you're absolutely
Well,
right.
we're definitely moving forward with the pilot project as soon as possible, whenever we can get that done.
Well, right now, it's not going anywhere.
Why?
Well, the chief has to meet with 911.
I thought he
Well,
did.
we met, but the chief handed out that sheet at the last meeting.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with, in my opinion, that has nothing to do with the pilot program. In that is the things like calling people in the morning.
Well, that won't be effective.
Right, but that's all in that sheet.
So there is no follow-up meeting then, that one meeting, that's it? So,
This board wants to move forward with the project, right? Right?
I did.
Right?
Yeah, for the
Yes.
third shift and
Yeah.
that, by virtue of, it's my understanding from these meetings, by virtue of having one dedicated shift, the county will, if we're in dire straits, they'll pick up on, a weekend or some gap that might have,
If needed.
yeah,
Yeah.
And holidays, you said.
right.
well, I would say this, if the board is confident that you'll execute the third shift option, you probably could shave off $10,000 to $15,000 off of Central Communications, because that's a good conservative estimate of your savings.
I'd hold on shaving that and maybe go after the fund balance if we have to, and then just add that to fund balance afterwards. I'd hold off on shaving that until we actually do it. But how quick can we move on this?
And there were considerations as far as equipment goes.
Well, the radios
Yeah.
and stuff like that, I think that was one of the things that wasn't resolved.
Is that the follow-up, was the radios?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, I believe, is in the chief's court.
Okay.
And a call box and things like
There was
that.
there was a couple issues now we're talking about it. It reminds me of what needed to
Call
be
box.
done.
Well, because we're identified as a police station, if someone were to come up during that third shift, they need to be able to hit the call box, and that would be answered over in the county.
Is the county covering any of these radio issues, or are we covering radio issues?
I think we have to.
Sure.
Now, the whole radio system is going to change
Right.
dramatically in 2017, and the county is covering that. But there are some things that have to be done.
2017.
There are new towers, new power supplies, there's a whole new net going up as far as,
So 100% digital, is that what it is?
yeah, I believe that's part of it, but they also have standby generators, there's a whole piece in that. They already have tower application.
That's what we're doing.
If you know what Rockland instituted, I believe we're doing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, my question is are we investing in radios that are gonna be used for 6 months and then they're,
Well, that's a good question, because I don't know what the radios cost. We'll set with Brian then.
But I'll tell you right now, that doesn't even matter, those radios aren't gonna cost you $10,000, $15,000.
No, and maybe
So-
it's something that would be compatible with what is
Yeah.
going to be changed to anyway. Again, it's a year away, a year and a half away.
These two.
all right, well, the board's moving forward, we need to set a date to say, this is when, we have to contact 911 immediately, find out exactly what we're doing, actually, not us. Ken has to contact 911, today's Wednesday, he's gotta do it by Friday. I want a list of exactly what is needed to make this third shift work by Friday. That's it. I'm not asking to implement it on Friday, I want a list from 911. We met, he brought up the list, he brought up what had to happen, and now it's sitting there doing nothing. That needs to move forward, we're losing out on $50,000.
Well, I'm having dinner with Brian tomorrow night before my Teamster meeting, so don't.
Could you email Ken tomorrow morning and give him that request, please? That by Friday, the board wants exactly what has to happen to make the third shift,
The implementation plan.
the implementation plan for the third shift.
Radios.
And I want to be able to vote on this in April.
You also, I think by.
Did we vote on it yet?
No, I think by collective bargaining, you also have to give the bargaining unit like at least 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah, but we can vote on it because it won't be implemented, right?
Is it more than that? I'm trying to think.
I don't know, if there's something specific, you know what, I
I think
have
it was
it.
90
I think I've
days.
got the contract
I
here.
thought it was 90 days for an insurance change, so I'm thinking any kind of changes would be
Well, let's-
lucrative.
Let's inform them right now. Because even if we start the process now, it's going to be a little bit before it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you gotta give them a
We're
date.
still talking about
You're
shift
informing them
changes along the lines
That those
of,
changes,
yeah, and that's where the 90 days
Yeah.
comes in.
coverage,
That's, right,
you gotta give them a date when it's gonna happen.
right.
Well, we don't know that yet.
So that's the only, well, shouldn't we just tell them that we're doing it? Do they know we're doing it?
I don't think you guys have officially,
No.
you guys have done your
Those.
exploratory, you haven't officially done anything. So at the next board meeting,
Let Ken give us the plan, and what it's gonna take to implement it. It might take longer.
but there is a component that Ed was describing for the full-time, the shifts.
yeah, no, you're,
Yeah,
the shift
Let's
schedule.
talk about that next time.
Yeah, you can discuss the shift schedule. Essentially, the schedule that you put together would, all full-timers would be retained, but the hours would be modified.
And we'll talk about that in a second. So let's get Ken, first thing first. We'll get Ken to give us the implementation plan by Friday. We'll plan to vote, if it looks like we can do it, we'll plan to vote in April. And as soon as we have some kind of a schedule for the collective bargaining group, as long as the board is in favor of it, we'll contact them and let them know by this time.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that, because I think there's some things in there that are gonna prevent us from being so rapid. I think they may,
Right.
because your people's positions are being changed. I think there's a time frame, and I thought it was 90 days.
No, their positions are being changed, their work hours.
Yeah.
Their work
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Well, in the memorandum, there's nothing that references that. I'm just gonna look now through the.
The full-timers
contract.
hours aren't changing.
Huh?
No, but I think they're under the same, pretty much they went in the same contract, they have 3 separate contracts. They may have, I think I remember something in there for,
Okay, we can, like you said,
Right.
bring this up there in exec and go through how you want to structure it. I have the contract here, so we can look at it. Okay, so that, we'll ponder what options you might have there. We'll leave the 45,000 right now for the overtime line for police,
Mm-hmm.
okay? In the contractual, there's a police car involved in there.
That's included in there right now, right?
Yes,
Just one.
I'm almost positive.
Yes.
Well, I would hope
It's
so.
in there.
It's 100,000. Hoping there's a car in there
I'm
somewhere.
pretty sure of course.
But you made a mention of bringing the car out. I don't think I think we need to leave.
I think bring the car out and
we have money
use your
in
reserve
reserves.
next year for the car. Or upon when,
I think we need to take whatever reserves we have,
And to get the car.
make up the difference, get the car now, because
yeah.
Gary had mentioned the costs of fixing. One was, just fixing the one was like almost $18,000, fixing the one car.
What about rotating?
the vehicle.
All those vehicles are
Vehicles.
pretty.
We have to do that, that has to happen now. We talked about it,
Yeah.
we're rotating the vehicles,
The
right?
fleet is aging out.
Right.
I agree, so put the least used car into the most used slot.
Yes?
Yeah.
And there's not, okay, so let's move on that tomorrow then.
I see bingo inspection is still in here. It's too bad,
It's the 3rd year in a row you're picking on that.
We have bingo in town, by the way.
but
We're gonna need bingo inspection,
um,
just so you
are we
know.
sponsoring it? Is it a
No.
fundraiser for the?
No, the school now went for their bingo license. They
Oh,
have it, yes. Not the public school, Holy Angels.
It's in the equipment line, actually, guys,
Well, wasn't it
What is?
36,
the vehicle.
35?
All right, what's 103 then?
103 is 21,000 to fix repairs.
Repairs, oh, for the
Vehicle
vehicles?
repairs, 21,000, and radio lease, 6,500, fuel, 27,000, uniform replacement and new issue, 7,200, uniform maintenance, 10,000.
That's high.
That's
the numbers.
contractual.
That's the it's a contract. Let's see, what else is high?
No, it's not.
I know a lot of other 1,000, 2,000 computer,
Right.
telephones.
So the car is in the actual,
Car is in the
equipment
equipment
line.
line. Mhm.
All right, so what I think we can do.
Full price of the car.
Right,
That's what he needs to take it out.
right, that's what I'm saying. We use our
Reserve
reserve that we set up for
the car.
the car. Did we put money in the reserve at all this year?
Yes, well, you have 10,000 allocated, you have to resolve that money to go to reserve.
Is there any other than just that 10,000 we have
We
allocated?
have 10,000 from last year.
Next year.
So we have 10,000 last year, 10,000 this
And
year,
10,000 that you're setting
Planning on
aside
putting
for
in this
reserve
year.
for next
so
year.
that's 30.
Right, so you're gonna be borrowing 15
I thought there,
until.
wasn't it
36,
36?
yeah.
Yeah, so we're borrowing, so we're just taking 6 from the equipment line.
That's
That's what we're
also,
talking
that's
about.
also an estimate.
Right. Is it,
What do you mean you're taking 6 from the
we're
equipment?
looking at, we want to get the car this year. And use the
You mean this
reserve
year
fund
before
money.
June 1st?
No,
This coming year.
this coming
It's
budget.
coming in like June.
All right, so at what point in the year do you want to get it? When the vehicle's
June
done?
2nd.
Oh.
Yeah,
So by June 2nd, we should have what? Will we have 30 in the reserve fund by then for the vehicle?
No, 20.
20.
We'll only have.
We'll have another 10 set aside, but we don't move that into the end of the budget year.
Yeah, or what you do is just don't put a $10,000 reserve in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use
Something
it.
like that, and
Just-
keep the 10,000 on the equipment line, and then knock your equipment line down 26,000,
Right.
and supplement it with 10,000. Now, what about the discussion of the vehicles and repurposing on low mileage?
We just did that.
we was talking about that.
Okay.
He just actually dealt with that right now on his phone.
And even with that,
Yeah. Started.
even with that scenario, then, you still would have to get the car at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like 3 cars that are bad.
She's got a lot of miles, we're all pushing.
It's a lot of miles, it's city miles. Like, it's just running up and down the street.
And the thing is if we can get the new one, and we put that at the head, and use that all the time, and again, I'm dealing with Gary with this, our repair line is gonna go down considerably.
Right.
And we're not gonna have to worry about issues of it breaking down in the middle of a thing, for the most part.
Pretty soon though, we're gonna be buying a vehicle, probably, so we can pull it up like every year for 2 or 3 years, you know, I mean,
I would see it that way.
Well, that depends on,
you know.
it depends on a lot of things.
Oh,
Money,
that's-
number one.
No, that's not even mine. I see this last vehicle buying.
Just to make sure, an Explorer, that's what we're looking at, right?
I would like you to specifically deal with Ken in picking up this car, because I think the two of you together can find the best.
Didn't you specify?
Fit.
Well, it goes
Yeah,
off-
it's the
no, it goes off the
SUV
bid.
on state bid.
Which is the Ford Explorer.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, you can't get a Crown Vic because you're never gonna make up these fills,
Yeah.
no.
Well, I think, and that's the thing, is the two Blazers are the two that are in the
Real
worst
old.
condition.
The Durangos.
Durangos,
Right.
not
And
the
they're
Blazers.
being run they're old.
Right.
Well, he did say it was an all-wheel drive vehicle, I didn't remember.
5 years is old for a police car, and they're over 5 years
I don't,
old.
no one's arguing. All I'm saying is that we pick up the right car. You're saying the Explorer's what we want.
Well, that's
We're moving.
what the bid, that's state bid.
All right, so we're gonna take 20,000, so we're gonna leave 16 of the 36 out of the equipment line.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take 20,000 off the equipment line. How about the reserve fund for next year?
No, I thought that's what.
What's your
We're taking
We're
that.
taking that to, yeah.
Okay. All right, next page.
So now, is that saving us 30,000 or 20,000?
30.
Okay. What's that?
What page we on?
We're on traffic control.
Nix it.
What?
Okay,
It's getting, feeling good.
not much to do with traffic control, on-street parking, fire department. The only discussion on the fire department is the reserve funds. Right now,
I'm sorry, hold on. On-street parking, $12,000? Who's that?
it's your meter guy.
We don't have a meter here, and we're not getting one.
All right, let's see, on-street parking, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was budget, that was.
12,000. I just saved $12,000.
That was requested. On-street parking, 12,000 for traffic enforcement officer, 20 hours a week.
Are we talking the meter person?
Yes.
We're not doing that. But, and I apologize, I didn't think we haven't been doing it. I know it was requested, but I'm just putting it out there that I think we're good the way we are. Here's why. By having the officers, they were used to, even the meter person was only doing it so often. By having the officers doing it at least 3 times a week, which is what the, what's the thing we're tracking them with? The log, which is what the log is for, to make sure they're hopefully tracking that they're actually doing that. Okay? That's putting them out on Main Street at least 3 days a week, which is good, which is what we want, which is what the public wants. By getting a meter person, that just gives them more time not to be on Main Street. It's not like if they have a call, they're not 2 minutes away from getting in the car and taking the call. But it also, when they're doing tickets and the whole nine, I think it's more important to have that police presence when we're doing that. And again, if they're doing it right, they're meeting the public, they're saying, hey guys, put the money in the meters, and again, they're creating relationships rather than being the Gestapo that's just here to take your money. And that's what we want. I want the police out more. This helps with that.
So who's gonna collect the money?
What they're doing now, they've been doing it for the last year or so.
Okay, then you do realize your costs are 3 times higher by doing it that way.
No, because we're not bringing any additional people on.
No, I
These are
know.
people that are on duty.
Okay, but they're essentially, okay, so you're saying that by virtue of the fact that they're on duty on foot patrol, the act of collecting the coins
Is
is part
happening.
of being part of on
Correct.
duty? Okay, yes.
No, I hear you. I would never put an additional, because that's what they were doing before.
Yeah,
Before, they were putting an additional officer
just to
on
do the,
to do the collecting. We're not doing that.
Is that the traffic enforcement officer, 20 hours a week?
yes.
11,800?
Well, no, traffic enforcement is,
That's different.
Traffic
That's
control
traffic
is the
control.
crossing guard.
That's-
yeah, that's a
Crossing
crossing guard,
I
yeah.
don't see it on this budget for, I see it here. but-
On-street parking.
Yeah,
Hey, no, on his budget, he had a separate
He had
page
a
for
separate-
on-street parking,
sheet.
right here.
Okay.
So lose the on-street parking, and that's up to you guys. I'm making a recommendation. I'm not saying you were doing it. That's up to you guys.
Now, there's also equipment and contractual involved there, too.
With the equipment, and that's, we have to make a note to Ken, and I'm gonna, when Anthony comes
We
back.
still need the equipment.
We are we are a minimum of 10 heads shy. If we're keeping, I keep saying that, if we're keeping the meters, are we keeping the meters? We're getting rid of them?
We're keeping
Making sure. If we're keeping the meters, we should have all the meters.
There's some municipalities that are actually putting meters back, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
But what I'm saying, okay, if we're keeping them, when I say heads missing, I'm not talking about the ones we took away by Sacred Heart. I'm talking about the one in front of the library. There are 6 over on the north end that only have 1 side instead of 2. There's another one, there's 2 missing down by Allen's, by the post office, that are actually supposed to be there, not ones that don't have, there's a pole, and there's another regular spot. It's not handicap, it's not special. There's 3 spots on the south end, do not have a pole or a meter. So if we're gonna do this, and this is a thing to keep the traffic moving, and it's, at the same time, it is an income coming into the village, I only bring this up because we're talking about equipment, he needs to replace those. I mentioned that to Anthony to get with him and say, but this is not the job of a meter person. You're missing 10 meters and you've been missing them for 6 months to a year minimum. And you're not doing anything to replace. That's the chief's job. If the guys are doing meters and you go by and there's no meter there, and there's duct tape on 2 of them, that just looks horrible. So I just want to point that out. When we're talking about the equipment, we may need to, and I know they have additional heads, they may need to be fixed.
Well, he's put in for 6 new heads too. In his
Yeah,
budget.
and the equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, there's 6 heads in there. All right, so we're just gonna take off the salary for the meter person. So we don't have a meter person now.
Correct.
Okay. All right, reserve funds for, fire department. Last year, you budgeted 45, 5, and 5. This year, the request was $2,500 higher, $2,500, higher, yeah, $2,500 higher than last year. I put in on the equipment one that you might want to consider a lower number on that and make sure that the engine gets a little more funding, because that's a big ticket.
All right, flip it then.
So right now it says 35, 10, and 5, which effectively is 7,500 less than what was requested.
How much is in the truck reserve and the CMD vehicle reserve at this time? If you have it handy, don't get too crazy. So let's not cut the number, let's just adjust. Are you okay with moving 25 into the?
Truck and engine have 5,000 each in them.
Yeah, we definitely gotta fund the other
Oh,
one.
yeah.
So we can't get crazy, but let's just move 2,500, because that's all he asked for. Let's move 2,500 into the truck and 2,500 into the, so it'll be 12, is that what you're saying?
No, right now I already made the adjustments, I'm just wondering,
Okay.
if you want to do anything with the equipment. Do you want to leave it, increase it? Because right now.
The equipment reserve.
Yes.
Well, that is gonna change pending, right, pending the grant.
Yeah.
Whether or
This
not
may
we get it.
go down to like 5,000.
But you're already contributing $45,000 this year to the equipment reserve.
Right, but this may be nothing this year. They need to do the tanks. They have to do the tanks. This was almost like his contingency. His contingency was if they don't get the full grant, the tanks have to be done, and this is all we need. But if they get the grant, which he applied for, he's very good at it, then the 35, pretty much all of it goes away. And that we save.
Apparently, we've passed through 2 phases. There's still a third one that we have to succeed on. But this equipment is $5,000 per person,
Right.
so.
Well, right now
Not inexpensive.
you have 15,000 with a $45,000 allocation for this year that we're in,
Which will bring us to 60,000
60.
total in the
in the equipment.
equipment reserve
Yeah,
fund.
and then
Is
another-
Eric aware of that?
I don't know, you might not know. Which would essentially then put you at $95,000 in equipment reserve.
With this.
With the way it's structured now.
And then if we're fortunate enough to get a substantial amount from the grant, that money
Wait.
would be reallocated to the,
Only
Only
if you don't
equipment?
only if you don't put it in a reserve can you do that. So, as long as you don't allocate this into the reserve fund, the board can take an action at the end of the year, okay, we got the grant, we don't need the funding, let's repurpose the funding back to the contingency fund or whatever, you could do that.
how do we repurpose it into the fire vehicle? Or,
You guys would have to do a resolution to do a budget change and move that money from one reserve fund allocation to another. As long as it's in that fiscal year.
Is the tanks, now, because now we just said 95,000, am I right in that the tanks are like $100,000? And he was planning on using the rest of the reserve fund?
Well, 5,000 apiece, wait, I mean,
Just, I don't want to,
yeah.
and we're not making a final thing here, but if you can go back to him and check.
We were looking at 60,000 in reserve for, 50,000.
That's this year. That's what he thought it was 42.
When it's 60.
Well, it's 45, you already had 15 in, I don't know. if
So he knew there was 60 in there after this
Well, I
year.
think he knew that there was 40, he thought there was 42 in there. I don't know if he knew that the earlier year 15 was in there.
So we're higher than.
If we took the 35 out, so that we could repurpose it wherever, we can repurpose it back to the truck without any real big thing, right? If that's what we decide. At the end of the
We
year,
can add it later.
that's what I'm saying, at the end of the year, depending on what we're
You're gonna
doing,
add it from where?
wherever we put the 35.
Well, is the 35 gonna stay in equipment reserve?
No, that's what I'm saying, we take it out,
So where are you gonna put it? You just won't allocate any money?
either in, not contingency, but,
The truck.
We're taking it out for what? Because we need to save money.
no, we have to fund the money. What's happening is, if he gets the grant, he doesn't need the 35. But if we leave it in,
It has to stay
it
there.
has to stay there. Or we can do a budget transfer. But if we take it out now,
We don't have.
and they
to put it-
need it, we can give it to them. And if that way, if they take it out and they need it, then we give it to them, we do what we have
No,
to do.
the way you give it to them, though, you'd have to take it out of the fund balance.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you could increase fund balance later.
So you're saying leave it where it is at this point?
That's what we're asking. What do we need to do so that we can we lower our $400,000 number by $30,000 and still have the ability to,
Take the 35,000 out.
Yeah, it's just, you're
Yeah,
gonna,
but
you're
it's
gonna
a
have
gamble.
to. Well, you're just gonna have to do a fund balance, increase.
Oh, it's not a gamble, we're not gonna
Budget
use it.
increase, you're gonna decrease your fund balance
If
by
we get the-
increasing the
Yeah,
use of
because
your fund
if we
balance.
get the grant and then we need money, our fund balance is higher. Then if we need money, we take it, we do, but like you said, budget transfer.
Yep.
Transfer.
Yep, so I would say, you guys have to just determine whether you wanna make it 95 or know that you have 60 and be comfortable with 60 at this point. Or some version of a split, you know, I don't know.
Wait,
Leave 20 in there.
45 is in there already?
No, you'll have 60 once you guys make the resolution to enter these into the class accounts. So right now you have 15 in the fund. And after you guys do a resolution to put the remaining money in, you're gonna have 45. Plus 15, which will give you 60. And then if you allocate 35 for next year, you'll be at 95.
If we don't allocate the 35, we're just gonna stay at 60.
You'll stay at 60, yeah. But you could always do a draw from the fund balance in the year if you don't
Right,
get
if we don't
it.
get it.
And this gives you $35,000 in relief off of your
Really?
budget.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, at the end of this year, we will be putting the 42,000 in equipment.
45.
Correct.
45. Okay. And we're suggesting
Just so-
changing the 50,000 here down to 35.
That's what I have.
And then if we don't get the grant, we can take it out of contingency.
what did Eric ask for?
50.
He did say the only wiggle room is in the reserve account.
Right, but I thought that, but not this reserve account if they don't get the grant.
Yeah, if,
But he may have been off a little bit on his number too. Double check of what he was what he thought he had in his equipment reserve fund going to these tanks.
he thought, according to this, 42,
Okay, and his actual after this year is 60?
45.
45 plus
No,
15.
plus the
Oh,
15.
plus 15.
That's what I'm saying. It's 60. So he's off, he's off about 20. So by reducing this to 35, we don't
Okay,
check with him.
yeah.
What we have to do, we can't send the message that, no, you guys can't, can't fund these tanks. The message has gotta be, we support the fire department 100%. And the feeling I got when Eric made his presentation was, yes, this has to happen, we will fund it. Our goal is that the grant funds it. That's the goal. By Ed knocking this number down with that 15, I think he's still good at 35. My thought is, because I brought it up, was to kill some of the 400,000, take 30 or 35 of this out of the reserve, and correct me if I'm wrong, take it out, whether it's fund balance, wherever it is. If the grant doesn't come through, we can still give him the 35. But it's our decision at the end of this coming fiscal year, if overtime's great and everything works out and our A fund is in good shape and our fund balance is in good shape, that 35 we may not need to leave in there also. We may decide 20, 30, whatever, in truck reserve, you know? But that we could do at the end of the year. But my question is, can we take the 30 out to help us with our 4? Does that go into fund balance, or does that just go against the 4 and it's gone?
Yeah, it doesn't go, it won't go in the fund balance because you're, essentially, this is all coming from taxation.
So if I'm trying to lower the number, it's gone.
How much, if the fire department gets a grant, how much has to be paid out of village funds for fire department budget? Half?
Does it vary?
Is it a 50% match?
This is a federal grant, I have no idea.
Okay, so that would be good to find out, what is our max required
Well,
amount if the grant is paid 100% that they're
I
supposed
think
to pay?
it's a case where they will buy X number of
Right.
a CBS.
Okay. Well,
If we get fully grant, this is my understanding, if we get the grant in full, this 50,000 that he asked for,
is enough.
he doesn't need.
Well, then I would caution you by not putting so much in this reserve fund, because you're gonna lock this reserve fund up.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. If it's in our fund balance though, the grant doesn't come through,
That's right.
we still gotta give him the money. That's okay. That's okay with you.
It's not about me.
It is about you, because you're the guy who actually knows where we should put in the numbers, not so much.
I just,
And how to get it out
I
if we
think,
need
right.
it.
here's what I
His
think.
notes, it says a 5% match.
5% match.
That
That's
was-
where the 95 and the 100 came in.
So-
It's for $100,000. It's 20 packs at 5,000 apiece, which is 100,000. The grant in full would give us 95,000. We would have to pay 5.
Well, then I would put this at 0, and I would really strongly consider not putting the whole 45,000 this year in. Because you're gonna lock that money up only for equipment. And maybe that's not a good idea.
Well, that's what I'm saying is shifting some of that into the truck. 'Cause we need to up that truck.
I
hard.
think we need to get a better understanding of how this grant is structured.
Okay.
And if Eric Smith comes back and says, hey, if they pay for everything via the grant, our only cost is 5,000, I wouldn't put the 45,000 in reserve.
But we have to make sure he understands it's there for him.
You know what, that's,
He needs to understand that if he
crazy
doesn't
as
get the
that
grant, the
sounds.
money's there.
you need a car, I mean, unfortunately, you need
And
a
we
car.
won't know about the grant until December, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was.
But that's fine, that's fine.
I'm still
Or-
unclear where this additional 15,000.
That was done
The year
the
before.
year before.
Ah,
Now, here's
You
the
already
other thing,
started when
Charlie.
you first did the reserve.
Eric's really good about working this out. If he can come back to us also, because of what Ed's saying, slicing off even more, Eric needs to come back to us maybe and give us more of a 3 to 5 year thought of, don't be too quick to pull that money, because this is what I need next year, this is what I need in 3 years, and this is what I need in 5 years, and just like the cars for the police, if you take that money out now, you're gonna have to find $50,000 for me in 2 years. So I'm okay with the 35 coming out, and again, rest assured, you don't get the grant, those packs have to be purchased, it's there. We pull it out of fund balance, wherever Ed hid the money. But the rest, I would like to, I will cut it more. If he doesn't have major plans in the next 3 to 5 years, and again, my personal opinion, if we cut more, I would definitely put at the end of this year, if we're in good shape,
Reserves.
put it in the truck reserve. Back in the fire, but in the truck reserve, to start building that up more. Again, the fire department's getting it, It's just where they're getting it.
When do we have to make that deposit into reserves? What's the latest date?
The end of the year.
End of this fiscal year?
Mhm.
May 31st.
For
Your
that
last
40,
year, like your last meeting in May,
for the 45.
yeah. Because I need like a handful of days to get that money into a class account. Now, by virtue of the fact that the class accounts already exist, it doesn't take as long. Last year, it was
Right.
a little crazy at the last minute because of the class account issue. So I think we need just a better understanding of what is the real amount that's going to be needed if the grant's received, what is the amount needed if the grant isn't received, and the board fundamentally then has to make the determination, if they don't get the grant, are you willing to cough up $95,000 out of your fund balance, which would be a big hit.
Well, it would be all this
Except
money.
we've got 60.
Now, we-
Well, except that you'll have something more than 15.
This
depending
shouldn't
on how
go in a
much of
fund
this-
balance then, though, from what we were doing before. If we have to cough this up in December in the middle of the budget year, this 35 shouldn't go into fund, well, no, it's in reserve. Can we pull this out in the middle of the budget year, the reserve money?
If you're gonna spend it on.
On that,
That's
okay,
purpose.
that's what I was thinking, okay,
Yeah.
make sure, good.
So let's maybe get a couple more answers and then Monday make a determination what you want to do with this.
So assuming that we keep the 45 from this year,
In there,
Yeah.
you'll have 60.
plus the 15, we've got the 60, then best case scenario, we need another 30 to cover,
Five,
or 35.
35.
But my other problem though is if he gets all the grant money and you only need 5, you're gonna have $55,000
Right.
sitting in an account that might not necessarily be needed right now, but you can't do anything with it because you've already reserved it.
Well, but we're not going to put this in until the end of next year, the 35.
No, but we're putting the 45 in now, that's what I'm saying.
That's the question.
It's the 45 and the 15, which is 60, we spend the 5 that's needed on the
And
grant.
55,000.
There's 55,000 sitting in there, and this is what we're saying.
Certainly.
We're not looking to take everything from them, but we're saying if the grant comes through, we'd like to pull it out
Something else.
and shift it into the truck. Well, that's what we need. We need to know what other big ticket items is he looking for in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
Do we need to keep 40,000 reserved right now? Because he's expecting to spend that.
Look at the grant for a truck. Is that what we're doing? Or Scott Pack?
Scott Pack.
Confusing me, okay.
Oh, if you find a grant for the truck, oh, you're a winner.
No, I don't
All
think-
right, so we'll need a couple more answers on that, and then we'll make the adjustments on Monday once we know for sure. I will say this, based on some of these unknown things, we're probably gonna have to have a final meeting on Wednesday.
Of course.
I've always talked about tonight, though, and make a decision.
Which Wednesday? What's the date?
Or if you guys are comfortable enough, we'll have a meeting on Monday. I'll give everybody a copy by Wednesday. You guys can look at it, and worst case scenario, if there's any other changes, we'd have to meet Thursday, because I have to have the tentative to Gina on Friday. Technically, I have to have it to her by Sunday, but she's not in on Sunday, so I gotta try to get it to her.
We're in overtime.
Huh? All right, so we'll get answers on that.
Let me just make sure I've got it straight.
Uh-oh.
Who's on first?
Well,
What's on second? I don't know.
potentially, we've got 45,000 that would be earmarked for the equipment reserve. If we don't put that in under equipment reserve at the end of this year, it will still be in the fund balance. And so if we need it for the SCBA's, we can pull it out, almost as if it was in reserve.
Yeah, it's in-
Technically, yes.
But now it's got the flexibility that if the grant comes through, 40,000 goes into the truck instead.
That's if you guys decide to do that.
Yeah.
Or police car.
No, we're talking fire.
That's in fund balance, that can go anywhere we want.
Well, see, you're arguing now that we'll leave it right where it is.
I know, but we don't wanna waste money.
It's not that you're
I'm serious, I'm not
wasting,
joking.
it's not that you're wasting, what you're doing is you're essentially
You know what I'm
restricting, you're potentially restricting money that you won't be able to purpose anywhere else if you put it in that reserve fund.
Right.
So you have to be careful, you don't want money that's dead under current needs. It's not that it's not
I
ever
understand.
gonna be able to use, but you'll be forced to use it just for that equipment.
Mhm.
And maybe it'll take 5 years before you need more equipment or what, I don't know, I'm not aware enough about what the needs are. All right, so that's kind of the rundown.
Okay.
All right, street administration, again, a lot of the salary numbers are estimates, they'll be refined, once I, factor in all the 1% figures. Street maintenance, salary.
Hold on. I'm sorry, on the street maintenance salary. Okay, yeah, that's where we're going, I'm sorry, that's where we're going.
Yeah, next page, or
No,
you-
street
top?
admin salary, is that Gary?
Street admin salary,
Shouldn't that be 30?
it's whatever was inputted, hang on, let me see.
Because Kevin was
That
20,
was Kevin, yeah, let me see.
but Gary's 30, right?
Let me see, hold on.
I don't want to be that guy, but you just lost 10,000 out of that fire reserve fund.
Was it 28? Was it 28?
It's definitely not 20, I know that.
Was it 28 something?
I thought it was like 33.
I like his number, quite down in the back.
Okay.
It's like a $5,000 jump, what are you thinking of there, just because you have cool shirts?
Yeah.
That is good, I like that shirt.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
correct.
you're telling me a joke.
You're correct. You're correct, that should be,
What is it?
I have to, hang on, I'm gonna give it 12 seconds.
That's a little set amount because he.
Well, it's off of the employee payroll, let me see. Hold on.
Sounds like this. I would even have to have a jumping on, no?
26.
26.
So change that number for salary to 26?
Yeah, but I gotta add FICA and Medicare in there,
okay.
so it's probably, I'm gonna make that 28, that'll be a little fungible.
Huh? Who gets the prize? This guy.
I remember from last year.
What's
That's the
that?
only thing I remember.
What?
That's the
28.
only thing I got.
Okay. All right, street maintenance. Again, that's gonna be modified based on the 1%. 5% factor for overtime. That seemed to be, with street department, that seemed to go pretty well. Right now, street department overtime is, $6,500, say a 4,000 remaining, so they're pretty much on target.
Although we didn't have snow.
That's a different line.
Different line, snow removal.
Oh, you've got it pulled out.
Under street maintenance contractual, that's, and that 128, that includes all repairing all the vehicles and whatnot, correct?
That's everything that he put in his budget submission.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only thing in equipment is just the truck.
I'll have to pull
I
it.
mean, it was a $7,500 dump
Yeah,
truck.
25,000.
Yeah, so I mean, he's getting nothing else this year.
Well, that's,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I
Vote on
think he said yes.
No, yeah, but I'm saying that looks like that's it.
Trump fell apart.
I'm in, I want the truck, what I'm saying is, that's all that's there.
The .2, that's the truck.
Right. What I'm saying is, the year before, it looked like he had $30,000 in for equipment. So this year, he's getting the truck, and that's
No
it.
extra money.
I mean, that's all he asked for, so I'll make sure we're aware that he's not getting a hammer. He's not getting any nails, he's getting the truck.
I got an extra.
But again, that truck,
He's got a hammer in case we need it.
You're getting 55,000 of that out of the fund balance.
Out of snow.
Right.
Yep.
So you'll still have 20,000 to buy other equipment.
Oh, definitely not. Okay, let's move on.
All right, just write in 25,000 on the total for street maintenance. For some reason, the spreadsheet didn't move that down, I'll have to fix that.
Oh, for chips, yeah.
What happens is when I transfer cells from requested to tentative, sometimes something slips, so I have to kind of go through it.
I believe this season, he's gonna be using a majority of Chet's money.
He's already been using.
Yeah, he has a couple of streets already planned.
So where did the 88,000 come from for,
That was used, that was what was on account. Because it becomes an aggregate
you can bank
until,
that?
until the state decides one day that it's no longer there. So if you don't, technically, if you didn't use it at a certain point, it could disappear.
That's why we want to use that.
Yeah.
But, banking it isn't a bad decision either. Right now for chips, 5112. So far, I have nothing this year spent.
Right.
Okay, snow removal, we talked about, there's 90,000 right now in snow removal. What's remaining is, we have 34 and 19. 53 plus, actually it's 54. I just rounded it to
That's the
55.
balance?
Yeah. And the way the weather looks, it's unlikely that you'll need any more snow.
Yeah,
And
I
so at the end, that goes in the fund balance?
That will transfer to fund balance, and then it will be re-initiated into this budget under the fund balance appropriation.
Oddly enough, today is the anniversary of the 1888 record-breaking snowstorm where 5 feet of snow dropped.
How do you know these things?
I don't know.
Why would you say it right after we said we're not spending the money?
And what did it get to?
Broke.
I think it got to close.
All of a sudden, we look outside, it's freaking blizzard, get home.
I think it almost got to 80 today.
It was warm.
Yeah,
It was-
was
it's
warm.
very warm.
All right, so that's what's up with snow removal. I programmed essentially the same money to snow removal next year. I knocked 2,000 off of the contractual, but you're looking at $90,000 available, and that's really just labor, overtime labor, and salt and brine or whatever else is being used. Street lighting, I upped 5,000 because we're still, street lighting is still, even though power prices or oil's come down, Central Hudson and Orange and Rockland haven't really shared their savings.
They're not interested, it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
And that, what you're gonna find as going forward, they still need $95,000 to make the system work from us every year. And you can call it whatever you want, you can call it a kilowatt, or you can call it just a routine maintenance delivery surcharge.
Yeah.
Tariff.
Yeah.
It's gonna shift from wattage used to a user
Service
fee.
charge,
You know, and that's kind of what I think they're trying to do here, so.
If
So-
we go to LED next year, well,
I think as time goes by, the savings that would occur now is gonna be diminished over the course of 5 years, and it won't be so significant. But it'll still be savings, and it'll still, it's a 2.5-year payback, and, you can't guess what it's gonna be 5 years from
The
now.
only thing that could really screw it up is if they close Indian Point. They close Indian Point,
You
it's gonna
can't take
screw
very much
everybody up.
megawatts
That's
off the
right.
grid
That's right.
without having a substitute. because
Even the
of-
Democrat Schumer was saying he can't do it.
Yeah, Chuck says
So
you
you
can't
know
do it,
that's not
trust me, you
happening.
can't do it, yeah.
So,
I don't know how much kilowatts there are, 20 meg or something like that, you take it off the grid.
yeah.
We got rolling black, we'll have all kinds of
They
issues.
have to import hydro from Canada to be able to make up the difference.
Well, I don't think
But they
the
already-
distribution
Unless we
is
set up a
there.
hydro here, who's with me? Take care of this tax.
Buttermilk Falls Hydro.
I'm ready.
I know where there are 2 adorable turbine generators available.
All right, so continuing on, sidewalks is contractual, that's straight from the budget. Parks is straight from the budget request. We did ask on the mowing to work the contract so that if it is a dry season, that the mowing is spread out. Beautification is based on the board's request there.
Thought we shifted some of that beautification somewhere else. I didn't think it was that high. Maybe I'm wrong.
Did we, I don't, we.
According to my
Lowered it?
notes, that's, I
Well, we
think,
didn't lower it, we moved, Gary wanted like, only like 4,000 in actual beautification. And he wanted the other moved to parks, I thought.
I remember.
I'll look at my notes from D, but I don't think it is anything.
I mean, it doesn't matter unless we're duplicating a number. In that case, there's another $8,000 out there available. But I know that he didn't want, whatever was being allocated in beautification, he wanted it split up, and he wanted a smaller number in actual beautification and a bigger portion of it in parks, which is basically, it would be for beautification, but it would be allocated specifically to the parks, Royal Park, Memorial Park, Lady Cliff Park. And that would be, you know, instead of just buying flowers, he could it would pay for, let's say,
On version
Watering
A,
and
on
stuff.
version A, I had 4,000.
right.
Yeah, he
And then
wanted,
version B, it went to 12.
I do have scribbles that was taking 3,000 from beautification and pulling it actually down into the 7120.4.
7120,
7120.4, yeah.
I don't have, oh, there it is, that's beautification.
Yeah,
He was taking it from parks into beautification?
well, he's got a .4 contractual line that
Right,
had 3,000 in it, and I've got an arrow that went down into the .4 beautification.
oh, that's weird. Okay, that's fine. I mean, what did we use this year in beautification?
I've got a note that it covers flags, etc.
In Ed's number there, the 19.2, in the parks contractual, in that 19.2, Gary had 3,000 for beautification. So
Right,
that's
that's right.
separate from the
Yeah.
7120 number. He had two in that, he had
Right.
two, which now is 12.
$830.
When we're talking, is Gary replacing the flags that we put up around 4th of July? Is that what we're talking about?
I think he's talking about the flags,
The banners
if they have to be replaced, or flags along, you have flags
Right.
along Main
that we
Street.
put up for Memorial Day, 4th of July type area?
And probably flags if you need a special flag,
Right.
they disappear.
And something go along with vision too, was there a contribution of vision or something requested, or?
Yes.
I remember that.
Well, we give, that's where the majority of beautification money goes to, is vision, because we did it with, they took care of winter. And this is where we have to restructure the beautification committee again. So there's a plan and there's a unified force. Vision took care of winter. The beautification money from beautification basically paid for pretty much all of the fall. The haystacks, all that stuff that came in the fall. Now, nothing really has been talked about for the spring, but we're hoping, Gene has been working hard with Kathy about the Memorial Park grant. And if they take care of Memorial Park, it'll be a lot less for the spring. But Memorial Park looks scary. And the other thing is, there's a group of Lady Cliff people that really hardcore support the Lady Cliff Park. So we really need to have better.
Angela McClellan.
We have to have better contact with Angela and maybe have them, give them more ownership of that to keep making it better and better, and that would take that off our cost. But Memorial Park, hopefully we get a good thing here. I don't see us spending 12,000 unless we buy some kind of a cool statue. Which I did talk to someone, if I lose some weight, I get a nice thing done. But I think that number's well.
Well, again, it was
How much did we spend this
$4,830.
year? And that was for the fall, and I think at the fall, a lot of people commented on how nice it looked, so we don't really have to dump that much more into it.
Well, again, version A was 4,000, version B went to 12,000.
Remember Vision gave you the letter, they wanted.
Yeah, how much did they ask for?
Approximately 2,000 for the bench replacement and planters thing that they wanted to do.
Okay, so maybe it's
I
maybe
wanna-
4,000 is the number.
I want to make a notation here that this is, to me, and I'll bring it to you guys, to me, there's at least a $4,000 leeway.
Do you want,
In
do you want,
beautification.
do you want to make this that if you need to find money, consider?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
This, to me, if we need to find even, I mean, we spent 8, they're asking for 2.
Wasn't the request from Mrs. Wicks?
That's what I'm saying, that's 2 grand. Yeah, we spent 800. Even if we spend 1,000 plus their 2, plus another 1,000, that's 4,000. So at least we might be able to pull a good $8,000 out of here if we need it. And still do the fall, still do Wicks, and still have another $1,000 for the spring. 2 plus 1 plus 1. I was just working on that. 4, 12 minus 4 is 8.
Proposal.
Moving on.
We moved from parks.
We moved 3 from parks. And that was it. Youth program, 7,000.
Double.
7,000.
Huh? What are we doing after that presentation, people? Come on. What do you got for me?
Nancy's retiring, so.
This is her last year. Her last year. Wouldn't it be great to go out of winter? Huh?
What were we considering with half of that money? What was that for the?
We were
the
put-
center.
in the
Center.
center. Not half.
By the way, there is money, I believe there's still money in that account. Is the center getting that? Who's getting that?
We didn't actually make that decision, but that's what we were leaning toward.
7310. There is 3,000 right now in the account. He gave 4,000
Big brothers and
Big
sisters.
Brothers Big Sisters. I believe, or you gave 3,000 and 1,000 to the center. I thought we gave some money to the center this year.
Pretty sure we did right. Right up front.
So, so you have 3,000 remaining. Yeah, you could you could technically give 3,000 to the center and then next year give 2,000 and give 5,000 to youth, and they get a little bit more. And don't increase your budget, but just give them a bigger allocation. And this way the center gets 3,000 plus 2,000, and the youth program gets 5,000 too for next year. So each get 5,000 aggregate
Over the 2 years.
over this next year and change. How much do you want to give the youth program? Because you used to give
We used to give 7,
the 7,
and
yeah.
then before that it was almost 10. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but-
And they're getting cut left and right.
Again, you got celebrations, you got beautification, you got police cars, fire department that, really, even the truck room thing, quite frankly, is a small potato compared to some of this other stuff.
It's key that we vote on this one. Brian's not here. And that's important.
I didn't want to put the Big Brother, Big Sisters program on the spot, but how many kids are served by that
About
program?
30.
It is
Here.
that many?
Yeah, I know a few
It's a
that,
large group.
yeah, and they give back a lot. I know they raffle off stuff. It doesn't cost anything for raffles, but I know couple children got like Xboxes.
Does the money?
This money doesn't go that. This money goes to pay for the coordinator, who is a paid person who deals with
Oh,
this.
really?
Yeah. It doesn't, I mean, some money go to some, it's my understanding that that a lot of that's donated. This
Oh.
7,000, or, I'd say 7, what was I thinking? This 5,000 or 6,000 or 8,000
It was salary.
goes to, the majority of it goes to salary. I think she gets more than that.
Right.
But that's basically what this is going toward.
Although
It's not
she-
going for like pizza for the kids.
But by the same token, she was there for 38 years, so she would be in the upper echelon salary-wise.
Not for her. Not for Nancy oversees the entire county.
Right.
This is for the other woman that was there.
Oh,
She's our local, she's the person who takes care of our community.
You think we get better use out of that dollar spent with the center than it would be Big Brothers and Big Sisters? Do you think it would be better for the village to spend more with the center than it would be Big Brothers?
Here's the thing, and I'm a hardcore proponent of the center. Center does the whole gambit. They're not youth.
Just youth.
They're not just youth.
You know what?
They're
Just
not
youth.
just youth, they're.
They do everything.
So if we spend money with the center, we realize those gains more than we would with big brothers and big sisters here. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that a small
But you
portion
guys
of what the
have
center
quotes.
does is dealing with youth.
Okay.
So they're
Ah.
servicing less
Okay, that was my question.
children in the center than the Big Brothers Big Sisters program does.
Okay.
I think the center would be ecstatic with $1,000.
Okay.
I think that we should, but I definitely think we should give them at least 3. I think that if we did, I hate saying what Ed said, I really do, I wish I said it before, so it's not what Ed said. But I think the 3,000 plus 7 is 10, 5 and 5.
Split.
Give the center 2 now, and let's hold the 3.
Great idea, Pat.
Wait till he's back.
Okay.
Give them 2, hold the 3, give the Big Brothers and Sisters 5. Done. But that's up to you guys. That's how I see it. Again, we're like everyone else. If we really follow the pattern, we will be giving Big Brothers Big Sisters 2. United Way cut their funding for Big Brothers Big Sisters in half. And they're United Way. They get a ton of money. So really, if we followed suit, we wouldn't be giving them 5. We'd be giving them 2, and you should be happy for it. And if you can't handle the program, then we don't have a Big Brother Big Sister program here. But we are stepping up. And remember, again, I don't want to be that guy. Charlie knows where I'm going. The village is paying the entire amount to Big Brothers Big Sisters. Town is not taking any, and I'm not bad in the town. It's not in their budget. They weren't taking it on. We haven't requested it from them yet. But really, whoever replaces Nancy needs to go to the town. Just because the school is in the village doesn't mean the village should be flipping the entire bill. Big Brothers Big Sisters needs to go to the town, and then you want 8,000? Fine. 4 and 4, which again the village is still paying 2/3 of that. So it's a lose-lose for us, but it's a win-win for the kids, and I'd rather that's where my money goes.
I lean a little heavier toward the center, but
It seems like both of you are, so just go be that person. You send cards to those 30 kids. You tell them that we can't get pizza this year. All right, just do that. You mean you want to give them more than 5 of the 10?
I just trying
Yeah.
to understand if the money better spent there or with Big Brother. I don't know personally.
I just don't think we're doing enough. We're putting money in there, we're not doing anything.
Well,
I
this,
know the town.
I understand, but again, we don't, I would love to take the police budget and just put it towards youth. But remember,
That's a little bit crazy.
it's not that crazy if you think about it. Remember, we have a rec program.
Yes.
And let's not get 18 funds going. Everything should be concentrated under the rec. And what we're trying to do now with our new rec director is we're trying to ask him, and he's responding very well, rec is not for the youth.
Right.
The rec is for the youth, it's for us, it's for the seniors, it's for everybody. And he is responding, and if the town board lets him, he will do more and more for the seniors. And that shouldn't be under the village. That's one of the reasons why our budget is so difficult to do. Is because we have been taking on, and in the past, a lot of these things were just lumped together, and bills were just paid. But we're breaking a lot more things out now, and we're showing where things are. To me, this youth program should be under us. Should be under the town, and we will still pay our fair share. We'll pay 2/3 of $10,000 and let the town allocate where it goes. Now, instead of us paying $10,000, now we're paying $6,000, $6,500. But let's deal with youth. All right, let's do this. If you guys are still pushing the issue, let's give her 4, what we gave her last year.
okay.
Let's give the center 2,
Who we
Okay.
giving for?
easy. What?
Who we giving for? Vision?
No,
Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh, sorry, okay.
That's what they got last year, so we'll give them the 4. Let's give the center 2, and let's deal with the rest in the new budget.
Is 4?
The rest would be 4.
One. You talking about you including the 3 that exist
Yes.
now? Oh.
Yeah, we kind of, when you had, with you out of the room, we went loco
So we're giving the center 2,000 this year?
right now, but we still have another 4. Let's see what happens. If the Big Brothers Big Sisters have really good ball
But
on,
you
they
really-
do this
You really
stuff.
don't have 4, because what you don't use goes to fund balance, unless you allocate it in the budget.
That's what we're doing. We're
So
allocating
you're
in the
gonna
new
make
budget.
this- So you're gonna make this 8?
no, oh,
We're gonna
No,
spend,
we're gonna forward that.
we're gonna spend
up
it,
and-
we're gonna spend that $3,000 now.
On 2,000 for
2,000 for the center, 1 for the Big Brothers Big
You're
Sisters.
gonna give them that this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Then we'll give them, of the new money,
4,000.
we'll give the Big Brothers Big Sisters 3. So they'll get a total of 4
Oh, okay.
of what we have now.
All right, so you're gonna write a
Center will get a
check,
total of
you're
2,
gonna give a check for 1,000 this
Correct.
year to the big club, okay, all right, cool.
and then they'll get 2, and we'll have 4. Let's ride it out a little bit, and let's, again, if I can give 20 to the center, I would, but let's not overstep what we should be doing. And again, what we talked about with the senior center and other places, the more I would rather keep it in almost like its own youth contingency, but just regular youth thing. If the center falls into an issue, they can't pay their rent, or they're doing a
Right.
program, they can't do it, then let's take it out. If not, let's hope some people step up and support the center without tax dollars. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I agree with that, but I don't know if that's been the case. I don't think they haven't, well, we'll see. Let's go play with
Well,
it.
Brian's our board and their board.
Yeah.
So if there's a need, even if there's a program like,
He's the steward.
right,
Okay.
if there's a program like, you know what, we would have really loved this, we're doing $2,000. Well, Brian, now you do. Boom. I have no problem snapping it for a specific thing, rather than just throwing it in and people going, you know what, the village just gave them $5,000. We don't need to do anything for them. Private dollars need to go there as much as possible. We can help them if they need help. And we'll leave that money for them.
Okay, so we're leaving the number alone.
Put 7.
Okay.
All
right.
Save something by
Historian, contractual 1,000.
then. Salary on
Celebrations,
that.
celebrations, you have 16.2, that includes the 10,000 transferred money. That's in the reserve, or in the
But
contingency.
10 of that's going into the fund balance, right? Sleep.
You guys already made that transfer.
Okay.
Senior citizens at 10. Planning board as requested, 3,400, 75. Storm sewers, the contractual is looking for 11,500 based on Gary Boyce, or Gary's submission. Refuse and garbage hasn't changed. Street cleaning, there's your street sweeper, highlighted or bolded. And then the contractual is based on the submission. CD administration will next year will just drop off since we don't have anything there. We're not going to need that line in the future. Benefits, state retirement, police, fire, LoSAP, Social Security, Medicare, workers' comp, unemployment, and
Workers'
health
comp and
insurance.
health, had a nice healthy jump. Holy cow.
Yeah, but again, these numbers will be refined a little bit,
Right.
but they're pretty close.
LoSAP does reflect a small increase. If it goes to a vote to extend benefits from 20 to 40 years, Gina, did the insurance company give you an idea of, you know, what the fiscal impact would be?
Minimal, he said. Actually said not an increase.
Good. Okay, then that probably will suffice.
Okay. So you're saying not 10,000?
This is an estimate they provided us too.
Okay.
All right, serial bonds, you've got 2009 principal, 2012 principal, and 2016, which is a bond that we just formed, principal. 2016 bond is $262,000. The 2009 and 12 bonds are around $3+ million each. The only thing is some of them have been structured of increasing principal. So, it's basically defer the pain until later. But, that stuff is under the bridge at this point. You don't have Webb Lane anymore. Webb Lane paid off at the end of the 2015. You don't have any more bands for the A fund, so that's nice. You're really now just restricted to bonds. Okay? Interfund transfers, there's nothing there. Everything's going through the F and G funds. All right, so now we're going to water. Based on this year's numbers for water, revenues are factored to be about $605,000, slight increase. That increase is considering just a little bit more water usage and your increased rates that you had 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Water rents, other governments went up 10 with the anticipation that the town's continuous stock up of new customers and the new rates will get us there. Revenue from the town should hit about 225 this year when we get the second billing in May.
We've allocated almost 40,000 for Bog Meadow.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, you're on expense. Okay, all right, next page, expenses. Engineer, I said at 10,000. Again, the water and sewer funds are not as, you guys don't have to be as discerning as far as the budgets because there is flexibility because those funds are properly balanced now where you are contributing to your fund balances by virtue of operating costs. So when you look at it, right now I put in contingency, my budget number was 75, but I put the tentative at 134 because to balance the revenues to expenses, I need to increase the contingency to get there. Now, we could do the opposite, we could leave contingency at 75, and if you go to the next page, we can increase the tank principal more than $80,465. We're actually only required to pay $35,000 towards principal on the tanks this year, that's the minimum. I upped it just because we really need to pay it off if we have the ability to do it. So I'll need the board to just kind of give me guidance as to if you like the hybrid or if you want all one way or another. So right now I did a little bit of a hybrid. I can move the money a little more, maybe 100,000 to principal and contingency, sits at 125,000. We could do that. Or we can make contingency 100,000 and pay off more of the bond.
What do you guys want to do?
Well, the question is pay, I stole your.
Pay more.
Do you want to pay more principal off?
What are you saying, paying 100 on the principal?
I think if you put 100,000 in your contingency, that probably would be reasonable enough without any questions, from audits saying, why do you have so much in contingency? The answer is, if we have a major break, our experience is it's cost us $80,000 to $90,000.
We'll cover your.
So this would cover our ability to handle an infrastructure problem. Now, they might still sit there and say, well, you really shouldn't be setting rainy day funds for that, but I think it's a fair argument to make, and I think it essentially is supportable. So I would, if it was up to me, I would say make 100 for contingency and add 34,000 to your principal, so your principal would essentially be 115,000 toward your water tanks. I passed by the water tanks the other day, there was a lot of green stuff going on.
Yeah, Kevin said he wanted to brush it.
Okay, yeah.
And we do have the approximately 300,000 in fund balance.
It'll be north of that, because when I get the new audit, I expect to see an increase there.
You wanna leave that, or you wanna use some of that to pay more debt?
I don't think you need to, because you want to grow that fund balance. I think that fund balance, that 10% figure is a guide. I think it's not a bad problem if the state says you have too much fund balance and you need to
Right.
spend it.
They might be a penalty, right? They just tell you this.
No, they'll just, let's say if they did an audit and they'd say, geez, you have a lot of fund balance, then, okay, we'll
Pay off some debt.
pay off more debt, or we'll replace some stuff, or we'll upgrade the thing.
It's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have. Whenever I see like audit reports where the state says that, technically, the taxpayer can get upset though, because the taxpayer is sitting there saying, well, why do you have more money than you need? You could lower our taxes. But this isn't a tax issue. These are infrastructures that are user fees. It's less of an issue, okay? I think you can always make the argument that we really need to have a good, strong fund balance and contingency, because we have an old system and things will break down, and we're a lot better off being able to take care of them through our balances than to borrow the money.
I'd like to get the debt out of the way where it's reasonable. So
Sure.
You know what I mean, rather than wait till the interest rates go up and then start paying it off,
Well, the interest rates right now are actually to your favor.
Yeah.
They are to your favor.
Yeah, but I mean,
But we're
But if-
locked in
but
with
if-
the
yeah.
serial.
Well, no, this is all banned. This is all banned. This is 1 year refunding.
That's why we wanna be a
Oh,
little
yeah.
more aggressive.
Yeah.
That's if you think that the rates are going up.
well, they're almost as low as they can possibly go.
That's
So
right.
I'm
And they
anticipating.
did go up. We're paying, essentially 50 basis points, 60 basis
More
points
than
more
we
on
did
money
last
right
year.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So effectively, we're gonna pay $4,000 more interest this year,
That we do.
or next year than we did
Last
the
year.
last year.
I'm a fan of paying the debt off as fast as we can.
Okay. Do you wanna make a lower contingency? You wanna make it 75 instead of 100?
You had just mentioned that the average repair was around 80 or 90, so I'm thinking that that's a.
100's okay?
I'm thinking that's a pretty good number, because you're absolutely right. If, I'd like to, I don't want to break us, but I don't want to borrow either, and I want to get rid of debt, so.
Okay. All right, so then, I will make the principal for water tanks 115,000, so we're essentially accelerating, this by $80,000. And then if we do in sewer a similar function, we're taking a $970,000 ban, and next year could be about a $725,000 ban. And most of it is water. The water tanks make up 2/3 of the debt. Okay, so I'll put that in for the final tentative. And remember, the tentative budget doesn't have to be right spot on.
Right?
It just has to be close enough so that when you go to public, to do a public hearing, that it's not going to dramatically change from what the public is being given. So, if let's say we're at 1050 per thousand, and we know we have to be at 10, the 50 cents of adjustments after the public hearing would not be considered outrageous, right? If it's at $11 or $12 and you're looking to cut several $100,000, I think it's a little bit more of a problem. All right, you have 10,000 for reserve, and then you have a $50,000 administrative interfund transfer back to the AP. Okay? Sewer. Sewer rents, I have a better idea because I don't have to necessarily do an estimate, because we have good numbers for sewer. This year, sewer collections, because sewer is June and November, June and December. Sewer, June and December,
June.
right? Sewer right now, revenue for this year was $1,142,000 approximately. And what I did was, I budgeted conservatively that it's gonna be pretty much right there. Realistically, last year we fell $3,000 short on the budget, which on $1 million is nothing. This year, because there is quite a bit of additional funding available, I stayed with a conservative number of $1,140,000. Okay, so it's good expenses. Engineering, I lowered to 5,000 because there really hasn't been much engineering expense for the sewer department. Actually, this year, we've spent 0 for engineering. Contingency, like with water, I set at 75,000. When we start looking at all the expenses, salary for the treatment plant, again, these numbers will be refined a little bit, but they're pretty close. The contractual and the equipment lines are all as per the requests. Retirement, Social Security, Workers' Comp, Health Insurance are all estimates. They will be refined a little bit. Bonding, pretty much going again in line with the water department. There is some serial as well as bands. Right now, the bond principal for the EFC bond, 25,000. 2012 principal is 3536. That's an exact number. Then the EFC interest has to be plugged in. That will be in there on the final one, and then the interest on the 2012 principal is there. Bond anticipation notes, the only band that you have is the 970. And like I said, I put 295,480 because that's the residual. Effectively, I have to look at the numbers. I forgot to do that. I wanted to do that, but that 295 might go a long way to almost relieving the band debt on the sewer. I think it's was somewhere around 3 something, but do I have it? Actually, I might have it.
Yeah, they depending on what happens in the next six months or so, because we have this number, if things don't go well with that, I would like to look at spending the $120,000 for the system to burn the methane. Because, yeah, I mean, we're looking at, just like the LED lights, we're looking at a quick payback on that. The sooner we do it, the better. But I want to wait till we know that that's not happening, or if it is happening, then it's a win. We get it anyway.
The band debt is 300,000. So this number here almost pays off all of the sewer debt. Or what we do is we go in with 100,000 on the contingency and make this 270, and that leaves us a small portion for next year to pay the remainder of the band for sewer.
Well, it's not like they're gonna run out of methane,
Right.
you know what I mean? So, as soon as we can do it, I think it's a project that's worthy, like you said.
So how much you want to leave in, how much we're putting in, Ed? How much we have left?
You mean for the band?
I know, how much, putting in the number you just said, how much do we have left in the contingency fund?
You'll have 100,000.
Let's make it 150,
That's a little high.
What did he say was the cost on that, around 100?
120.
Was it 120?
Yeah, but that's not, you're not necessarily gonna, if you wanna do something like that, you should put that in the budget as, under one of the contractual lines, if you wanna make that type of investment.
We're not sure if we're going to need to make that investment.
Or it's a capital fund item, and then you can you can plus up a capital fund. So move money to the H fund and have it there for the project. But right now, what I would say is if you're not sure, I would put your contingency at 100,000, and next spring, if there's no draw on that contingency,
Then spend it.
consider using that money toward a project. And then in the next budget, like maybe budget 80% or 75% of it, and then in the follow-on budget the remainder. Because a lot of these projects, they take a little while to put together, you don't pay it all up front.
And if it being a contingency, we can spend it on other emergencies.
Correct. You would have the flexibility to move it. I can't really recommend higher contingencies in that because they're kind of red flags that you're essentially trying to build a savings account. And the state doesn't really want you to do that.
Okay.
All right, so I'll move up contingency to 100,000.
What number was that? I'm trying to think.
1990? Oh,
What, the contingency?
It's the
It is
second
1990, it's the second one after engineer, it's on the first page of expenditures. And then this will go down to 270,480.
Okay, okay. So it'll be 100 instead of 75.
Yeah. Okay, so, the big ticket stuff is the sweeper, what you're gonna do with the fire department, what you're gonna do with the police car, which you gave me guidance, I'll plug the numbers in, I'll see where we are. I think with everything that we've done, we're still probably looking at, maybe $100,000 that we'll have to work out, next Monday.
In this budget for the water, we
Or-
still have the,
Or do the fund balance.
Truck?
Huh?
you still have the truck in this budget, or check it out?
Gary's truck?
No, the water fund, yeah, Kevin left me, he said, he sent me an email with the truck price, let me see if, I'll have to look at his.
Only because we're buying another police car, and that means that one of the Durangos we can access.
Well,
I know we have extra money in the water, I prefer not to spend it if we don't need it. I don't think that we need a new, Kevin's truck is decent, I don't think we need a new truck to get the one or two spots.
You wanna sell the village truck to the water department?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
You wanna do that?
yeah,
interfund transfer.
yeah. That's what, one of the Durangos, look, just what they did before. It's exactly what they did before. And this way, if it was his primary truck, I'd say we have to get a new truck.
we're losing,
then we
we're buying a
could-
car, we're losing a Durango.
No, we're buying an Explorer, I thought, which was like,
Yeah, that's what I meant, I'm sorry, we're buying an Explorer.
I would assume
That
that we're
Durango,
gonna get rid of the one Durango. It's the worst one, right?
get rid of as in junk it.
Move it to thing. What they did before, and this is again the board's
Right,
decision.
no, but are we
Not
gonna
to
fix
put-
that problem with
Not
the
to put
steering?
any, well, that's, again, this is gonna be on Gary. Not to put any more money in, what happened was, or a ton of money, he's looking for a vehicle, he's looking for $30,000. Prior to, they took one of the old police cars, moved it over to water,
Right.
and they, with the exception of, we're not putting any more money into it. When it dies,
Let's go.
it dies. Now, talking to water and sewer, and Gary, all three, the need for that second vehicle and the money, the monetary value it puts on us.
The second vehicle in the water.
Right.
It's still a second vehicle in the water with insurance and different things.
So that's, I mean, I'm getting the thing that it's not really an essential. I know we have money in water, but I don't want to spend something we may not need, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
There's no money built in for a truck right now, just a reserve,
Oh,
10,000 for the truck reserve.
well, there goes that. Well, we can still give them the truck if we want to. Depending on if it's like a, I mean, if it's.
Do you want to sell the truck from the police department
Let's
to the?
ask
water
Gary what
department?
the feasibility is, because I know that the one truck that we just got rid of, Gary's like, don't even think about getting $1,000 for it. You have to put it out as junk, so that no one uses it and we don't get
Steering
sued.
column or something, yeah, I know.
So depending on what this one is, let's see what he says. If we have to put it out junk so that we don't look at a lawsuit next year, that's what we do. If we don't, if it's something that, you know what, I can do it, it'll last these guys for a year for what they do. without putting any real money into it. If all of a sudden something happened and we need a new engine, it's gone, you know, just get rid of
All
it.
right, well, how much you want me to put in the equipment line for water? 5,000, 10,000, how much is a truck worth? Gary, gonna have Gary give you an estimate?
It'll probably give you a good deal.
Yeah, I don't know what it's worth.
I'm not-
We'd have to ask
But
him.
in
Well,
terms
this is a
of
case
water,
where-
buying it from the A fund.
Yeah.
This is a case
Yeah, I think
where
it might be
the
worth
highest
20,000.
value you can reasonably.
The lettering alone is worth 5,000.
The highest value you can reasonably assign to it without, you know, scrutiny,
16.5.
that's a little high.
This what?
Oh,
I would say, I don't think you should go north of 10,000, but I'm thinking you're probably more likely that truck might be worth between 5 and 10.
Really, isn't it worth what the owner really wants? I mean, if he really
It's worth
wants
what
it.
the auditors are willing to buy.
So you have to take, what I was saying, we're gaining one police car,
Right.
Explorer, well now we're losing two.
No, I don't wanna lose two. If
So we're
he-
gonna fix that other
If
stupid
he's
problem.
telling me we don't, that it's something easily done, move it over. If not,
I think he said the parts are back ordered till
Right, it
sometime
could be a year.
next year or something crazy like that, he said.
well, let's talk to him tomorrow,
That's
find out
the
what
spring
his,
clutch.
what his,
Listen, you can't afford to lose, even though we're buying a new police car, you can't afford to lose another one.
you gave us one of yours.
No.
He needs.
We have 5 cars in rotation.
He's gone.
If we go to 4, the new cars would get beat up.
Right. All right, well, let's get a thing from Gary and we'll see if we can get something for it. If not, then it goes. Okay, anything else?
All right, so, so Monday, I'll just try to look for some answers to some of the questions.
Yep.
And then, I'll work on version D, and then D will be.
No F though, just D.
No,
Don't
D,
go to E,
I'll
don't
be
go to F.
version D, and then anything out of version D will be the last iteration before I submit the tentative.
Okay, motion to go into exec for contractual. Move over shift, 2 seconds.
Second.
Unless, Jim, he's about to pass out, you came, what did you want to talk about?
I'm not about to pass out.
No, he is. Okay, you can't put 3 stacks like that and expect us to even be enthused about it. What did you want to talk about?
I just showed up because you said you might want to speak about something on Wednesday night. That's up to you.
Oh,
That's why I'm asking.
It was about,
one of the issues was the pavers
yeah, Al sent something today.
and the requirements for the maintenance.
Yeah. So he looked at that and revised it.
Okay, what was?
I
the
didn't see it.
concerns?
All I know is I seen on my email, but I wasn't in the office all day.
Okay, so
So
You've
he
got to be
sent
comfortable with it. We will not vote on it if you're not comfortable with it, bottom
No.
line.
Well, it's not my document, it's your document, and Al's the one that's setting it up, so you guys need to speak with Al. I just gave some input.
That's what we're looking for.
And that was
Okay.
as
You know what I
far as
mean?
manufacturer specifications, the maintenance will be, is that the basic?
Pretty sure Al put that in.
Okay, good. Then that's, I'm good with that.
Right. And then, so another thing that you guys probably really need to talk about is some maintenance covenants and agreements, because you're in MS4. This is a new document that came out with the classes that I go to. You should have Al look at something like this, where it states.
Did we include that in our thing and they turned it down, or we just didn't include it yet?
No, this needs to get inserted into your book.
Right.
No, into your code book.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
is general, it's,
This
I
is
hear you.
something different,
I hear you.
alright? So you guys really need to look at this. There's some templates out there from some other MS4 communities. So you really need to look at something like this, where it actually states that we are an MS4 community, and this is why you have to do this.
Okay, then,
So
so
you need to look at these.
put a sticky on it, condense it, and tell us, in essence, what you would like us to do
Well,
with
this
it.
one's only 2 pages.
Yes,
Small
but I
print,
mean,
small print.
Just
2
your
pages.
recommendation on it, if we need to incorporate that into the book, we will.
And I have a few other ones from some other municipalities. Again, things that they mention at the classes.
Okay.
Developers agreement that between you guys, so, you're comfortable with it in the past. Hope you read it, you're signing.
No, whether or not I read it doesn't mean that I'm comfortable with it unless you are comfortable with it.
Well, I mean.
You have more knowledge about it, that's why we refer to you.
Right, so I know you guys are busy and it's late and you're tired. If you wanna go over that developer's agreement, at the point in time,
Yes.
just let
We
me.
have to, we can't.
You know what I mean,
approve it.
because to do it tonight, I don't think
Right,
No,
would be
we're
fair
not,
to you.
we're not gonna do
Oh,
a
yeah.
good job.
But yeah, we want to make sure the developer gets all our support,
Right.
but it has to be right, it has to be right.
Well, you signed it previously, just so you know.
It's changed.
You know, what changed? The agreement didn't change. They changed,
The date did.
Well,
they changed some portions of the
well,
project.
Right.
then it needs to be
So-
updated.
And, well, so that's what you have to ask Al and Elise, if they made any changes that reflect the changes to the project. Again, this is y'all's document, I mean, we helped set it up,
No.
but you guys need to look at that document.
Yeah, no, well, you know something, if we'll talk with Al on it, Al will give us his recommendations on the specifications, the manufacturer, those types of things in the developer's agreement, and any kind of revisions he thinks we need to incorporate in it, we'll talk with you also. and we'll-
For the purpose of
Exactly.
tables. Again, just like I spoke with you, Bob, it's just adding a line that refers to the
Something
manufacturer's
happens,
specifications. It's a one line that you add.
It
That's
covers,
it.
covers everything.
And it covers it.
That's right.
You know,
Regardless
so
of who
it's
makes
just
it,
one
whatever
line.
it is. Yeah, we're not saying what he has to use, we're just saying what whoever you uses it, I think that the
Manufacturer.
manufacturer would be very stringent on making these things work properly, so he's gonna wanna
Correct.
maintain
Yeah.
very much, you
That's
know,
it, yeah.
to sort
Yeah.
of work at 100%.
Or approved equal. And the
Right.
approved equal would be whatever the village engineer, if they came in with the change order, would have to review.
And then
So that-
manufacturer's
so-
specifications still apply to that approved equal.
Right, so it's a simple word in a sentence in there that covers it. It's just all in that. Yes.
Best guesstimate. Is Pickens Field going to be torn up the first week in June when the carnival comes to town?
That's a good question for Al. And it's also a question that the developer asked at our meeting,
Shifts from what you were saying.
if they could utilize the village's easement that the village has with the school, because that's school property. So do you guys actually ask the school for permission to use that?
The shifts just-
Yep, the
Right.
fire department.
Right, so again, this, the developer is gonna obviously have to come before the board and ask about how big the easement is first of all, and if they had to put in another pipe, or if that pipe's good enough, because I believe they were going to maybe camera, I'm not sure, whatever they're gonna do to see what the integrity of the pipe was, right? So they're gonna look at that, and if it's good, then they can tap into it. If it's not, then they would replace that, supposedly. So that's what transpired. Remember at the meeting, we discussed that briefly, remember?
I'm sorry,
Al actually wants to sit down with Bob and I to get some of these things through, just so you know.
yeah, I just made myself some notes, we have to talk with Al about these couple items. And at that point, if he says it's ready to sign and he's comfortable reading it, then we'll get a hold of you and we'll just go over it.
Yes, and Charlie was just asking about
Middle
the
Park, Pickens Field.
Pickens Field. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, what are they doing, are they doing anything different with the carnival?
Through what?
Are they doing anything different with that carnival? Is that what we're talking about?
No.
Oh.
No, of course, they're thinking about doing it in Park.
I need
Charlie
a,
Rock.
She was concerned, if the developer that is going to be fixing all of the
I need a
drainage
Red
on
Bull,
his
that's the only thing
dime
that's gonna get me going.
Oh, it's
at the
gonna be
Motherville
carried out
property in
during-
Berry Hill,
Oh, gotcha.
correct. And being that Gary, had some concerns with the way the pipe was going to get connected to the pipe that is existing,
Mhm.
the developer came back and made a change. And the change is that they were gonna run all the way, they're gonna keep it in the street, they're not gonna go into the senior league field like they were going to. They're gonna tap into the line there and then in Fickens Field. Now, the village has an easement that runs through there because there's two pipes that run through there. The question is that pipe gonna be able to, can they tap into the pipe over in Fickens Field? And if they can't, then they need to fix it. They're gonna have to come before you guys, because they are actually fixing your pipe for you. Doesn't cost the village anything. And if they can use your easement, that would be great. It's either that or they're gonna have to ask the school for permission in an easement, which could be devastating.
Right.
I think
So
we-
they're better off tapping into your easement and running it right down through that.
Right, and I think the easement's probably wide enough, I mean, when you're giving somebody an easement for a conduit, you're talking about shoring, and, you know, it's probably, I don't know what it says, but it's probably certainly wide enough to put additional conduit in to prevent.
Or the worst case scenario, and which they also suggested at that meeting, would be maybe to increase the size of your one pipe.
Right.
So, and right now you have just the two pipes there, one's a relief pipe, I'm sure Gary spoke with you about it,
Yeah,
not
I-
ask Gary about it.
I thought I remember him putting something parallel to the other one.
Right, because Royal Park would flood
That goes all the way to,
to the brook, on Brook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Royal Park floods. And then the other stuff,
Jim, the key is just make sure we really, really want your input on every piece before we move forward. That's the, you know, so if we gotta stay, we gotta stay, but we're not staying tonight. So make sure before we, but before things are voted on, if you, because you're always here, just say, wait,
consider
we haven't
this?
gone
Yeah.
over it yet, you know,
like I said, Al
right.
sent one, I just have to read it, I mean, my phone, I don't have a real smart phone, I got a real small phone. So the print's real small, hence,
Yeah, that's-
that's my glasses. But, you know what I mean, so, but if he made that one change and added that one line, I was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I think green infrastructure is a wonderful thing, those pavers, if they're gonna put them in, it's a plus,
Okay.
alright?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, I'm sure Lawrence Avenue will love them for it.
They're gonna love the hotel, not me. Take care.
all right, thank you.
All right, shift, go ahead, quick on yours.
Are we going to exec?
We, motion to go on exec.
You did that.
We
I
did,
already
we
did.
already, we
Is
did go forward.
everybody in
We got
agreement?
the camera. I think
Yeah.
Gina-
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.